Chapter 262. Lei Xingfeng knew how smelly Bird Buddha's mouth was. He warned, "Bird Buddha, this is my little sister." His eyes flashed with a warning light. Bird Buddha was very smart, even smarter than most people. It immediately understood the warning in Lei Xingfeng's words. It said, "My name is Bird Buddha. How do you do?" Jean Daya and the others were all dumbfounded. This bird was very cunning. It actually didn't speak rudely and introduced itself properly. Xian Yao happily said, "Wah, this bird is so fun. It's called Bird Buddha. It's really amazing." Lei Xingfeng said, "Bird Buddha, go play with Yao Yao." Bird Buddha spread its wings and flew to Xian Yao's shoulder. It said, "You're called Yao Yao?" Xian Yao nodded. "Yes, I'm called Yao Yao." She was very happy. She said, "Bird Buddha, what do you want to eat? I'll go get it." Bird Buddha reservedly said, "Jie, bull meat, bull meat." Xian Yao was shocked. "You know about bull meat? Brother, you gave him bull meat before." Of course she knew what bull meat was. In her hometown, bull meat was the best food. She didn't eat it often. Lei Xingfeng said, "Yao Yao, I have a lot of bull meat here. I'll give it to you later." Xian Yao said, "Just give me a little. I don't need that much." Jean Daya laughed. "Yao Yao, your brother specially went to Tiger Cliff Castle to hunt. He hunted a lot of bull meat. Hee hee." Xian Yao was shocked. "Brother, you went to Tiger Cliff Castle? Are they all okay?" She also had a lot of friends in Tiger Cliff Castle. She was still worried about them. Lei Xingfeng nodded. "Very good. They're all very good. I'll let Hong Tong people take care of them." Xian Yao said, "Did Ai go back?" Lei Xingfeng bitterly laughed. "No, Ai didn't go back." Xian Yao turned her head and asked, "Granny, is there any news about Ai?" Yan Shaoqing patted Xian Yao's head and said, "Granny has already sent people to look for him, but there's still no news. Be patient. As long as Ai is still here and hasn't gone to the outer world, Granny will definitely find him." Xian Yao hugged Yan Shaoqing's arm and said, "Thank you, Granny." Her mouth had always been very sweet. Yan Shaoqing said lovingly, "You don't have to be so polite with your mother-in-law." The black bird suddenly flew back to Lei Xingfeng's shoulder and said, "I'd better come back." Xian Yao said, "Bird Buddha, come back. Why did you fly away?" The black bird sighed and said, "Jie, the pressure is too much. I can't take it." Because Lei Xian Yao was close to Yan Shaoqing, and Yan Shaoqing's aura was too strong, the black bird couldn't take it and could only fly back. Xian Yao giggled and said, "It's okay. Bird Buddha, Granny is a very good person. Don't feel pressured." The black bird said, "You're fine, but the bird is fine. I can't take it. The pressure is too much. The bird will collapse. Jie ga." It began to talk nonsense again. Lei Xingfeng flicked his finger and hit the black bird's little head and said, "Don't talk nonsense." The black bird shook its head and said, "Don't bully the bird. Jie, it hurts." Xian Yao said, "Brother, don't hit it. It's so pitiful." Lei Xingfeng's eyebrows jumped and said, Okay, I won't hit it." Xian Yao said, "Brother, why did you come this time?" Lei Xingfeng sighed and said, "My second senior brother wants to buy medicine and asked me to ask." Xian Yao said, "What kind of medicine?" Lei Xingfeng said, "Silver flash medicine." Yan Shaoqing couldn't help but laugh and said, "Your second senior brother is joking, right? Silver flash medicine. Does he know what kind of medicine it is?" Lei Xingfeng said, "Advancement medicine. He knows." Yan Shaoqing shook her head and said, "This is a breakthrough medicine. It's very difficult to advance from ninth ring to monarch. It's almost every practitioner's nightmare. The value of silver flash medicine lies in this. It can help a practitioner increase the success rate of advancement. This kind of medicine is not sold at all." Lei Xingfeng smiled bitterly and said, "I know. That's why I'm just asking. I don't need to get it." Yan Shaoqing nodded and said, "Don't talk about outsiders. Even in our sect, there are countless people who want to get silver flash medicine. But do you know how many people successfully get it? Lei Xingfeng shook his head and said, I don't know. Yan Xiaoqing said, even if it's your sister, if she wants to get silver flash medicine, she'll need the ancestors' help. Of course, when she becomes a ninth ring sage, she may be able to get it, but she'll need to contribute a lot of materials and a lot of yin rings. If others want to get it, unless they have a special contribution, there's no hope. Lei Xingfeng knew Xian Yao's position in the secret sect. She was a disciple who was heavily nurtured. The resources were relatively more biased. Even she couldn't get it, let alone Xian Zhaolun. He said, and Grandma, I understand. Xian Yao said, Brother, I'm sorry. Lei Xingfeng rubbed Xian Yao's little head and smiled. It's okay. Grandma, what materials do you need for silver flash medicine? Yan Xiaoqing couldn't help but shake his head and said, Materials? The materials for silver flash medicine are very, very rare. Have you heard of Dijuan liquid crystal? Xian Feng was stunned. Not only had he heard of it, he even had it on him. Cleansing monarch liquid crystals were sky crystals and saint crystals. He spoke, I know, they're commonly known as sky crystals and saint crystals. Yan Xiaoqing said, That's right, it's called sky crystal. As for saint crystal, don't even think about it. Sky crystal contains a strand of silver liquid, which is the main material for silver flash medicine. One sky crystal can be used to make 3 silver flash medicine. Only Dao monarchs can have 3 silver flash medicines. For Dao monarchs, it's already not bad to have 2. As for Dao monarchs, it's better not to have them. You can imagine how precious silver flash medicine is. Jin Daya knew about sky crystal. He said, only by successfully making 2 or more silver flash medicines won't waste sky crystal. Otherwise, it's better to just use sky crystal. Yan Xiaoqing said, if someone has sky crystal, they won't use it to make medicine. Firstly, they might not find a suitable expert. Secondly, it's better to use natural sky crystal silver flash medicine than to make silver flash medicine. Lei Xingfeng said, then it's better to use it directly. Why do you need to make medicine? Yan Xiaoqing said, one sky crystal can only be used by one person. However, if an expert makes silver flash medicine, it can be used by 3 people. For secret sects, of course, they want to make medicine. Lei Xingfeng asked curiously, if we use Saint Crystal to make medicine, will the effect be better? Yan Xiaoqing said, Saint Crystal is too difficult to obtain. I used Saint Crystal to make medicine to advance. When this secret was revealed, Jin Daya and the others' eyes lit up. They all had an extremely shocked expression. Yan Xiaoqing said, it was by chance. We found an ancient hidden Luan space, and there was a Saint Crystal inside. I obtained it. Later on, the old ancestor personally made medicine for me to advance. Jin Daya and the others all sucked in cold air. The prerequisite was to obtain Saint Crystal. They didn't even dare to think about it. Xian Yao giggled and didn't say anything. She had obtained a Saint Crystal from Xian Feng, and when she became a 9th ring true body, she would secretly use it. She didn't dare to use it to concoct medicine. This thing was too enviable. Jin Daya didn't understand. Isn't it better to use Saint Crystal directly? Yan Xiaoqing shook her head. You don't understand. Medicine made is more suitable for the individual. The danger is much lower, especially for people like us who rely on yin rings to increase our cultivation. Without special medicine, we can't advance at all. Not only was Jin Daya tempted, Mad Eagle and Tiger Love were also tempted. However, Saint Crystal was hard to come by. They could only envy it in their hearts. Lei Xingfeng sighed. You actually obtained Saint Crystal from an ancient hidden Luan space. Grandma, your luck is really good. Yan Xiaoqing's expression softened. Let's not talk about luck. It's mainly because of the elders' help. Otherwise, It would have been impossible. You still need to have strength. Lei Xingfeng said, if we can find Heaven Crystal or Saint Crystal and ask the elder to make medicine, what are the conditions? He had a pile of Heaven Crystal and Saint Crystal. If they were exchanged for medicine, they would be worth a pile of yin rings. Yen Xiaoqing said, the elder usually won't do it, but Yao Yao's master might. However, it would require a large amount of yin rings. Yes, other than the main materials, it would also require precious supplementary materials. These would all require yin rings. A Feng you've only been cultivating for a short period of time. I don't think you can afford it. Lei Xingfeng didn't think much of it. How many yin rings do I need? Yen Xiaoqing was surprised. Don't tell me you really have Heaven Crystal. Yes, if you really want to make medicine, 1 Heaven Crystal could make 2 Silver Flash potions, or even 3. I estimate that each Silver Flash potion would cost tens of thousands of yin rings, and that's after providing the Heaven Crystal. Lei Xingfeng smiled. If you don't provide the Heaven Crystal, then how many yin rings would 1 Silver Flash potion cost? Yen Xiaoqing didn't even think about it. Then it's not a matter of yin rings. There won't be any. Even if you have yin rings, you won't be able to get them. No matter how many yin rings you have, you won't be able to buy them. Lei Xingfeng finally gave up. He knew that his second senior brother wouldn't be able to get the Silver Flash potion. If Xian Zhaoluan had the Heaven Crystal, he wouldn't even know how to make the potion, and would just use it. The reason why he'd pestered Lei Xingfeng to ask was because he didn't have the Heaven Crystal. Lei Xingfeng was also helpless. In fact, he really wanted to contribute the Heaven Crystal, but there were a lot of things that would be difficult to explain. It made him hesitate. Sighing to himself, Lei Xingfeng decided to continue keeping it a secret. Of the 5 Saint Crystals, he decided to use 1 for himself, gave 1 to Lei Xingyao, and left 1 for Elder Thunderstorm. He had 2 left in reserve. As for the Heaven Crystal, to him, it was just a pile of yin rings. As for his parents in this life, Lei Xingfeng chose to forget about them. He had no recollection of them at all. Chapter 263. Lei Xingfeng thought for a moment and had a plan in his heart. When he became a monarch, there would be no problem taking out the sky crystal. With the strength of a monarch, others would only be grateful and would not have any other emotions. Lei Xian Yao laughed as she tore the bull meat and fed it to the blackbird. She had not experienced the blackbird's poisonous tongue, but she felt that the blackbird was super fun. 1 person and 1 bird asking and answering questions, they looked very harmonious. The blackbird kept trying to please Lei Xian Yao. Its words were very mushy. Yao Yao, you are a good girl, beautiful and generous. Bird Buddha will be your friend from now on. Lei Xian Yao giggled and said, your little mouth is so sweet. Bird Buddha, how do you know, brother? The blackbird heaved a long sigh and said, it was a moonless and windy night. Caw, no, it was a sunny night. Caw, anyway, it was one day. Caw, no, bird, and a stupid bird fought. Caw, that stupid bird was scared witless by the bird. Caw, caw, at that time, your brother came. Lei Xingfeng laughed. It seems to be the opposite. The blackbird suddenly became unhappy and said, what do you mean? What do you mean? The bird is right. Lei Xingfeng giggled and said, okay, very right. You are always right. Ha! The blackbird said, don't listen to your brother. At that time, your brother appeared. Immediately, Ga, that stupid bird. Scared shitless your brother. Ga. Everyone was stunned. This bird was lying through its teeth, but Lei Xian Yao did not care and said curiously, wow, that stupid bird is so powerful. She already knew what was going on in her heart, but the blackbird was really fun, so she went along with the blackbird's words. The blackbird said proudly, then the bird came. Beat that stupid bird. Again, scared shitless. Your brother is grateful to the bird, so we know each other, G-A-G-A, G-A-G-A-G-A. Lei Xingfeng gave a thumbs up. The blackbird was overjoyed and said, Yeah, look, G-A, look, your brother is praising the bird. Lei Xingfeng gave a thumbs up, meaning you can talk nonsense, but the blackbird took it as a compliment. Lei Xian Yao giggled and said, And I know he is praising you. Thank you, Bird Buddha. You saved my brother. The blackbird jumped up and down happily. G-A, 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 G-A. Yen Xiaoqing could not help but shake his head. This bird is a spirit. This is the first time I have seen such a strange bird. According to the blackbird's temper, if it was someone else, it would immediately start scolding them. But Yen Xiaoqing, it would not dare to talk back. The aura from Yan's body, its body, of course, it would not dare to provoke this old woman. Xian Feng couldn't help but want to laugh. This was the first time he knew that Blackbird cared so much about face. The blackbird did not dare to continue talking nonsense. It finished the bull meat in Lei Xian Yao's hand, spread its wings and flew to Lei Xingfeng's shoulder, and said, The bird is tired. The bird wants to sleep. It hid its head in its wings and fell into a deep sleep. Lei Xian Yao looked at the blackbird in shock and said, You are so lazy sleeping at this time? The blackbird hid its head in its wings and said in a muffled voice, Tired, bird tired. Everyone could not help but laugh. Every time this bird called itself, it made people feel like going crazy. Lei Xian Yao giggled and stopped bothering the blackbird. She loved the bird and was very friendly to it. After all, it was her brother's pet. Jean Dia smiled and shook his head. However, with the blackbird around, the atmosphere was indeed very lively. Just as he was about to say something, he saw Yen Xiaoqing raise her head. He saw that her originally squinted eyes suddenly flashed a glimmer of crystal light. He heard her say, Which friend is coming? She stood up. Lei Xingfeng and the others also stood up and followed Yen Xiaoqing out of the door. Two people descended from the sky. Lei Xingfeng knew one of them. It was Tangu's master, Tianque, a lord of heaven like Wu Yang. The other was a middle-aged man. Lei Xingfeng did not know, but he could feel that this guy was very powerful. He should be a lord of heaven. Tianque's long hair fluttered. He saw Yen Xiaoqing and smiled. Little Qing, is Senior Luo home? Yen Xiaoqing's face was still cold. She said lightly, Yes, Senior Tianque, what's the matter? Tianque was not angry. He knew that Yen Xiaoqing's temper was like this. She was cold to everyone. He said, This is my disciple, Lord of Heaven Wayside. Wayside stepped forward and said, Greetings, junior sister. Yen Xiaoqing said, Greetings, senior brother. Wayside nodded and looked at everyone. Lei Xian Yao went forward to bow. She was pulled by Lei Xingfeng and said, Little sister, ignore them. Yen Xiaoqing said, What's wrong? Lei Xingfeng said, It's this guy's disciple. He's been chasing after Ah Yi. Lei Xian Yao's face suddenly changed. She said, Bad guy? Tianque was also stunned. He dared not offend Luo Yero's secret sect. Almost all the high-level medicines were controlled by Luo Yero's secret sect. He knew that Lei Xian Yao's position here was very high, and she was doted on by Luo Yero and Yen Luo. Wayside said, Little miss, I didn't offend you, did I? Lei Xian Yao said, Bad guy, your disciple is chasing after me. Ah Yi? Wayside was stunned. He said, Which disciple? Lei Xingfeng said, See, Dano. Wayside said in shock, You are Thunderstorm's family? Lei Xingfeng and Lei Xian Yao humphed. Lei Xingfeng thought, acting dumb. Wayside laughed. It's nothing. I'll go back and tell Si Dano to stop chasing. Hee. It's just a small conflict. Lei Xingfeng and Lei Xian Yao didn't speak, but they didn't really believe Wayside's words. Tianque ordered, Go back and tell Si Dano not to mess things up and make things difficult for us. Wei Side laughed. Master, don't worry, I'll go tell him. Yen Shaoqing ordered a few servants to bring Tian Kuo and Wei Side to the small building behind, and sent someone into the secret space to inform Yen Luo the others returned to their rooms. Jean Dia said, "Why is this guy here?" He didn't dare to speak rudely. He only dared to talk about this guy. Lei Xingfeng shook his head. "I don't know." Yen Shaoqing said, "He should be here to ask for medicine." Lei Xianyao said, "I'll go find Master." Her goal was clear: to mess things up, no matter what Tianquo asked for. She wouldn't let her master agree. Lei Xingfeng understood immediately if his little sister wanted to mess things up. He wouldn't stop her. He laughed. "Yao Yao, if you can't stop him, you can cry." Yen Shaoqing rolled her eyes. Tianquo is narrow-minded. Be careful of his revenge. Lei Xianyao said, "I'm not afraid of him." Yen Luo quickly came out. After all, Tianquo was a lord of heaven. This courtesy was necessary. The three of them met in the small building behind, and Lei Xianyao brought Lei Xingfeng in. Tianquo felt a bit uneasy. He glanced at Lei Xianyao. The pressure made Lei Xianyao pale. Yen Luo was angry. "What are you doing?" She pulled Lei Xianyao, hugged her, and whispered, "Don't be afraid. Master is here." Only then did Tianquo realize that he released a bit of power, making Lei Xianyao feel uneasy. He quickly laughed. "Hee, I was careless. I didn't do it on purpose." Even if he was a lord of heaven, he didn't dare to offend Yen Luo. Yen Luo said, unhappily, "She's still a child. How can she resist your pressure?" Lei Xingfeng also felt the pressure. He was slightly better than Lei Xianyao. After all, he was an eighth ring true body, but even so, his face was slightly pale. The black bird was trembling in fear. It stuck its head out of its wings and kept muttering, "Scared the bird to death. So scary, scared the bird to death." Tianquo was very embarrassed. Under Yen Luo's signal, he sat down with Wei Side. Yen Luo comforted Lei Xianyao, then said, "Junior Tianquo, how come you have time to come here?" Tianquo complained in his heart. He could hear Yen Luo's impatience. He already had an opinion of Si Danhua. The trouble he caused made him uncomfortable, even if Si Danhua was a direct disciple. He had to teach him a lesson. Tianquo smiled apologetically. "AI Senior Luo, there is indeed a small matter. I want to ask Senior Sister for help." Yen Luo said, "What is it? Speak." Tianquo said, "Hee, I need a soul-stabilizing medicine." Yen Luo said, "Who is injured? Need such a high-level medicine?" Tianquo said, I have two disciples you also saw last time. Tengu was injured." Yen Luo said, "Soul-stabilizing medicine. You also know only my master can make it, and there should be no more stock at home. We need to remake it, but we can't find the materials." Tianquo said, "What materials are you still lacking? I'll go find them." Yen Luo shook her head. "Master rarely makes medicine now. If it's not a special medicine, she won't do it." Tianquo's face immediately became ugly. He thought for a moment and said, "Senior Sister, please make it." Yen Luo smiled slightly and said, "The success rate of my concoction is not high. Do you have the materials for me to waste?" Tianquo said, "Please help me, Senior Sister. I only have two disciples. I can't just watch them die." Lei Xianyao giggled and hugged Yen Luo, saying coquettishly, "Master, the soul-stabilizing medicine needs at least 20 sets to successfully make one set." When these words came out, Tianquo's face completely changed. This was too exaggerated. The success rate was only 5%. Lei Xianyao then said, "Master, it seems that 20 sets might not even be enough to make one set." Yen Luo knew that Lei Xianyao was causing trouble, but she couldn't help but lightly pat her, saying, "Is your master that bad?" Lei Xianyao said, "Master, when you make the medicine, I want to see." Tianquo's heart immediately went cold. This was clearly causing trouble. If the concoction was about to succeed, Lei Xian Yao would do some small tricks, and it might fail. He knew how low the success rate of concocting high-level medicine was. Yan Luo looked helplessly at this disciple she doted on, but didn't say a word of reproach. She said, "If you want to see, then see, but don't cause trouble." Lei Xian Yao giggled and said, "Don't worry, master. I definitely won't cause trouble. Hee hee." In her heart she said, "As if." Chapter 264. Tian Ku knew that the little girl would definitely cause trouble. He was a sky monarch. He couldn't ask a little girl for help. He was depressed and glared at Wayside. Of course, Wayside understood why his master was angry. With the temperament of a cultivator, if someone tried to stop them, they would just kill them. However, this little girl was not simple. Her secret door was too powerful. It was impossible to solve the problem by killing her. Even someone as strong as Tian Ku was troubled by the little girl. After thinking for a while, he couldn't find a solution. He could only put his hope on Yan Luo. He said, "Senior sister, these are the materials I collected. There are only 6 portions. Take a look." All high-level practitioners knew the materials needed for the soul-stabilizing potion. But there were very few people who could make it. The success rate was very low, so Tian Ku couldn't make it himself. If Yan Luo could make half of the potion in 10 portions, then her master Luo Yero could make at least 8 portions out of 10. If Tian Ku made it himself, 10 portions would be wasted. It was impossible to make the potion, and it was very difficult to find the materials. Even with Tian Ku's powerful strength, he could only gather 6 portions in a hurry. If Yan Luo had seriously concocted the potion, at least 2 could have been successfully concocted. But with Lei Xian Yao's interference, Tian Ku was already in despair before he could concoct the potion. Lei Xian Yao said, "Master, 6 sets of materials may not be enough to concoct a potion." Tian Ku said, "Senior sister, the cost is 20,000 yin rings, no matter the success or failure. Also, I promise you that if you need my help, I will agree once." This sincerity was great. In other words, if Yan Luo asked Tian Ku to kill someone, Tian Ku had to do it. With such a condition, even Yan Luo was tempted. Xian Yao pouted. She knew she couldn't stop it. Master would definitely agree to this condition. Yan Luo said, "Junior brother Tian Ku is too polite. All right, since it's like this, I'll do it. And you better prepare a few more portions. If these 6 portions fail, you can't make it without materials." For the sake of her disciple, she made things difficult for Tian Ku. Tian Ku let out a breath. He knew it was a success. He took out a big box and placed it on the ground. "Senior sister Luo, here are 6 portions. Please check." Yan Luo didn't check. Instead, Yan Shaoqing checked and said, "No problem." Xian Yao looked at Tian Ku angrily. Tian Ku knew that this was a hidden danger. He thought for a moment and said to Wayside, "After you go back, tell Sistano to behave himself. If he causes trouble for me again, I'll slap him to death." Wayside nodded. "Yes, I will warn him." Tian Ku then turned to Xian Yao and said, "Little girl, as you know, we have many disciples in secret sections. There are some things that elders don't know. The person who tried to kill you, Yi, is his disciple. I've already warned him. And I believe that Si Dano won't dare to go against my orders. There may be many conflicts between secret sects, but we're all members of secret sects, and some things are easy to solve. Let's reconcile. You, Yi, shouldn't be hurt. If this continues, it won't be good for either of us." Tian Ku deliberately lowered his status and said sincerely. Xian Yao didn't answer. Instead, she turned to look at Lei Xingfeng. Lei Xingfeng wasn't stupid. With Tianqua's promise, it meant that Ai was safe. Of course, he wouldn't refuse. Compared to these terrifying secret sects, Thunderstorm's strength was far inferior. If the other party was shameless and directly sent out monarchs, or even sky monarchs, once Thunderstorm appeared, they wouldn't even be able to escape. Lei Xingfeng knew the difference between a sage and a monarch. Yan Luoluo also advised, Yao Yao, it's best if the grudges between secret sects can be resolved. Xian, Yao still looked at Lei Xingfeng. Lei Xingfeng nodded. Yao Yao, promise him. Xian Yao nodded and said, don't try to kill me, Ai, in the future. Tianqua nodded. Don't worry, I'll take care of this. He knew that if he didn't take care of it, once Xian Yao went all out to cause trouble, he wouldn't be able to do anything. Also, he didn't want to have a falling out with Luo Yeruo's secret sect. In the future, he would need to come here for the potion to level up. Both Lei Xingfeng and Tianqua heaved a sigh of relief after the two sects reconciled. If this continued, neither of them would have a good ending. If Lei Xingfeng and Xian Yao didn't have such a powerful sect, it would be impossible for them to reconcile. With Tianqua's strength, if Thunderstorm continued to pester them and angered the true masters of the secret sects, they would be annihilated. There was no chance of luck at all. Previously, because Si Tano only ordered his subordinates to attack Thunderstorm, he wasn't too serious himself. That was why Thunderstorm's old man kept pestering him. If he got serious, Thunderstorm's old man wouldn't be able to stop him. After all, he was only a sage and not a monarch. Tianqua then left the town with Wei's side. Yan Luoluo sighed and said, it's better this way. Tianqua isn't easy to deal with. Xian Yao hugged Yan Luoluo's arm and said, Master, thank you, Master. Actually, she should call her Grandmaster, but in private, she always called her Master. Yan Luoluo patted Xian Yao's head and smiled. You child. Her doting feelings were obvious. Xian Yao said, I knew Master was the best. Yan Luoluo stood up and said, stay here with the phone. Also, you need to hurry up and cultivate. Xian Yao nodded. And I know. Master, I'm about to break through. Yan Luoluo said, was the medicine I gave you last time enough? Xian Yao giggled. It's enough. Only then did Yan Luoluo stand up and leave, returning to the secret treasure space. Lei Xingfeng's life in the town was very carefree, with Xian Yao accompanying him. The two often rowed a small boat to the lake to fish. Jean de Peng sat on the boat as the chef, cooking whatever they caught. After playing in the lake for a few days, the rainy season of Wanxi continent finally began. At first, it was light rain, then it started to rain heavily. What made Lei Xingfeng depressed was that such a heavy rain didn't produce any lightning. Even if there was lightning, it would just roll by faintly and disappear quickly, followed by a violent storm. Lei Xingfeng prepared to leave the town. He told Xian Yao to return to the secret treasure space. The little girl was about to break through and needed stable time to cultivate. Xian Yao knew that her brother also needed to cultivate, so she didn't pester Lei Xingfeng and obediently returned with Yan Shaoqing. After staying for another 2 days, Lei Xingfeng sent Jean de Peng back. He took Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love and left the town. He wanted to find a thunderstorm. Rowing a small boat, the 4 of them left the town and headed far away. Even if there wasn't a thunderstorm, cultivating in a heavy rain was much faster than usual. Perhaps there was a thunderstorm somewhere else. So Lei Xingfeng felt that his cultivation speed was faster. Of course, compared to cultivating in a thunderstorm, there was still a big difference. The boat came to a lake. It was empty all around, as if they were on the sea. Because of the heavy rain, they couldn't see anything around them. The sky and earth were gray. The raindrops hit the lake, creating waves of white foam. The boat bobbed with the waves. Lei Xingfeng sat cross-legged at the front of the boat. He said gloomily, "I didn't notice before that there was no lightning in a heavy rain. This is so King weird." Blackbird stood on Lei Xingfeng's shoulder like a drowned rat. It said, "It's so annoying. It rains every day. My feathers are all wet. So annoying." Jean Dia also sat cross-legged. He said, "Haven't you seen rain before?" Blackbird said, "Of course I have, but I've never seen rain like this. It's endless. So annoying." Ga. Lei Xingfeng said, "When we find a thunderstorm, you won't be annoyed. You'll definitely like it." Blackbird shook its body hard and threw water on Lei Xingfeng's face. However, it was a heavy rain, so Lei Xingfeng didn't feel anything. Blackbird said, "If there was lightning, it would be fine if it rained a little, but it's been so long and there's not even a shadow of lightning. It's annoying." Mad Eagle said with a smile, "It's nothing. The more you want it, the more you can't get it. I've already seen through it. Let's try our luck. A Feng's luck has always been good. We should be able to find it soon." Lei Xingfeng knew that if he encountered a few thunderstorms this time, it was very likely that he would ascend to ninth ring sage body. He was very much looking forward to it. Once Lei Xingfeng ascended to ninth ring sage body, he would start gathering all the materials he needed to ascend. He also had to prepare a large amount of Yin rings. Although ancestor Wu Yang had promised him Yin rings for ascension, Lei Xingfeng wouldn't really not make preparations. He still prepared to gather a batch of Yin rings. Even if he didn't need them, he could give them to Yi after he found Yi. The rain grew heavier and heavier, but there was no lightning or thunder. Lei Xingfeng was already soaked, but he didn't care. His body was strong enough that he wouldn't fall sick from this little bit of cold. Blackbird was the same. It hid its head under its wings. That was the only thing that could block the rain. It couldn't care less about anything else. Tiger Love rode at the back of the boat. The boat moved very quickly crossing the lake. No fishermen came out to fish at this time. Once the rainy season arrived, almost all fishermen would stop fishing. They would either go to a gathering point to rest or hide on the boat. This was a difficult time for fishermen. At dusk, the rain finally stopped, but the sky was still gloomy. Lei Xingfeng's body emitted a burst of electricity, drying his wet clothes in an instant. Even Blackbird caught some of the light. Jean Depeng wasn't here, so everyone just took out some dry food to eat. Lei Xingfeng kept tearing strips of beef for Blackbird to eat. It only recognized beef and didn't like anything else, especially fish. As for vegetables and fruits, it didn't even touch them. After resting for the night, Lei Xingfeng stood on the boat, unable to see more than a meter in front of him. Lei Xingfeng listened carefully. Blackbird asked, "Caw, what do you hear?" Chapter 265. Lei Xingfeng said, "There seems to be thunder. Can you hear it?" The blackbird said, "Your big ears, quack, you can't hear it clearly. My small ears can't hear anything." Lei Xingfeng turned his head and looked at the blackbird. He nodded and said, "If you didn't tell me, I wouldn't have known you had ears." The blackbird was so angry that it pecked Lei Xingfeng's ear and said angrily, "Quack, bully birds." Lei Xingfeng asked, "Uncle Jean, do you hear thunder?" Jean Dia couldn't help but laugh. He said, "A foam, you're thinking too much. There's no thunder. I can't hear it at all." Ha! He almost said that Lei Xingfeng was hallucinating, but Lei Xingfeng was his master after all. It would be rude to say that. Lei Xingfeng continued to listen. He said loudly, "Uncle Tiger, move to the left. Hurry up." He didn't dare to fly out now. Firstly, it was hard to tell the direction in the fog. Secondly, if he flew out, the four of them would probably be separated. Tiger Love said loudly, "Okay." He pulled the oar hard, and the boat turned around and flew to the left. A ninth ring sage pulled the oar hard. The boat was not much different from flying. It was absolutely fast. After about 10 minutes, Jean Dia looked at Lei Xingfeng in surprise and said, "There's thunder." Lei Xingfeng couldn't wait any longer. He knew that a thunderstorm would only last for a short time. Once the thunder was over, it would often rain heavily. The thunder and lightning would gradually decrease or even disappear completely. So he shouted, "Uncle Jean, wait for me here." Jean Dia smiled bitterly and said, "Okay, send the signal if there's anything." Lei Xingfeng nodded and flew in the direction of the thunder. The blackbird was also awake. It said, "Hey, where are you going?" Lei Xingfeng smirked and said, "Get ready to be struck by lightning. Ha ha." The blackbird said, "By the way, you haven't beaten me up today, quack." It was hit by Lei Xingfeng's thunder 3 times a day. It would not do it for less than 1 day. Lei Xingfeng said, "You don't need me to beat you up. Wait for God to beat you up." After all, the blackbird didn't know everything. It said, "Who is God?" Only then did Xianfeng come to his senses. He said, "Your uncle." This was a curse, but the blackbird didn't feel it. It said, "My uncle? Where did I come from? I'm a lonely bird." Xianfeng didn't care about blackbirds pestering. Excitement appeared on his face as the sound of thunder became clearer. The blackbird said, "Caw, what a terrifying sound." The sound of thunder had always been amazing. When the thunder rolled across the sky, it was especially soul-stirring. For Lei Xingfeng, the sound of thunder was extremely familiar. When the fog gradually dissipated, he saw lightning in the distant dark clouds. After a few seconds, the sound of rolling thunder came. The blackbird said, excitedly, "Quack, there's lightning over there. Quack." Lei Xingfeng, while frantically moving forward, asked curiously, "Bird-Bude, what are you so excited about?" The blackbird said, "Of course I'm excited. Quack, I'm going to be beaten by God. How can I not be excited? Quack." In fact, it didn't understand what God was. In its imagination, being beaten was just being attacked by lightning. Would it be afraid of lightning attacks? Of course not. But what it didn't know was that the lightning of God and Lei Xingfeng's lightning were completely different. When Lei Xingfeng rushed into the dark clouds, the lightning had already begun to weaken. Occasionally, a bolt of lightning would strike down. The sound of thunder would explode, causing Lei Xingfeng to continuously shake. The blackbird was frightened. It cried, "Ah, ah, ah, ah." So scary, quack. Scared the bird to death. Scared to death. Quack. A bolt of lightning formed and directly struck down, aiming at Lei Xingfeng. Lei Xingfeng didn't dare to use his body to resist. He directly flew out of his own Lei Yin. He had to rely on Lei Yin's conversion to be able to smoothly absorb the powerful energy contained in the lightning. Lei Yin flew out in an instant. Suddenly, it had expanded and faced the lightning. Boom! An immeasurable amount of lightning energy poured into Lei Yin. In an instant, Lei Yin flashed with a dazzling brilliance. Even though the poor blackbird wasn't directly struck by the lightning, Lei Xingfeng was receiving Lei Yin's energy infusion, which also affected the blackbird. Suddenly, the blackbird felt as if it was standing on an oscillator, and its whole body shook violently. Wah, jie, jie, wah, jie, ma, dead, dead bird, jie. Lei Xingfeng and the blackbird, one man and one bird, flashed with blue electric arcs. The crackling of the electric arcs was mixed with the strange cries of the blackbird. Lei Xingfeng couldn't help but laugh. He said, "God, did I hit you well?" The blackbird said in a trembling voice, "Good, good, good." Lei Xingfeng laughed and said, "Of course it's good. Hee hee, it's very nutritious." Blackbird finally managed to squeeze out the rest of his words. "Good, good my ass. Numb, numb to death. Jie." Lei Xingfeng choked and couldn't speak. After a long while, he laughed out loud. Ha, ha, ha. Unfortunately, there were only 2 lightning bolts, and then there was a downpour. Lei Xingfeng helplessly watched the rolling dark clouds calm down. He helplessly received Lei Yin. The 2 lightning bolts made the Dipper Thunder Serum grow a little, and his cultivation increased by a lot. He was about to advance. He smiled bitterly. If there were 2 more lightning bolts, maybe he would have advanced. AI, what a pity! Although Lei Xingfeng didn't advance, the harvest was still not small. In addition to obtaining a little Dipper Thunder Serum, his cultivation increased a little. In addition, the blackbird took a big advantage. After Lei Yin's conversion, the energy was not enough for Lei Xingfeng to advance, but the blackbird absorbed a lot. Don't look at the blackbird, shaking like a quail in the cold wind. After it absorbed the lightning, its body was quenched once. Lei Xingfeng could clearly sense this change. After the blackbird stopped shaking, it also found the benefits. It couldn't help but cry out, "Jie, it's different. Jie, the bird is big." Lei Xingfeng couldn't help but laugh. "What do you mean the bird is big?" He said, "Now you know the benefits of God." The blackbird was a pragmatist guy. It would definitely not forget something good. It said, "Jie, comfortable. Jie, unfortunately, it's too short." Lei Xingfeng teased it. "Isn't it good, my ass? Why do you think it's too short?" The blackbird said, "This is the first time I tried it. How would I know there would be so many benefits?" Lei Xingfeng suddenly found that the color of the blackbird's hair on its head had changed a little. He said, "Bird Bud, the hair on your head, it's blue." Bird Bud was overjoyed. It said, "Really, Jie? This is the result of the increase in strength. Jie." He excitedly jumped on Lei Xingfeng's shoulder. Lei Xingfeng knew that if Bird Bud rushed directly into the dark clouds and was directly hit by the lightning, the result would be a piece of burnt bird meat. There would never be a second result. He solemnly warned, "Bird Bud, if you encounter this kind of lightning in the future, don't foolishly rush in with your cultivation. And without the help of Lei Yin, there will be only one result. There will be no accidents." Bird Bud did not understand. What consequences? Lei Xingfeng said, "Barbecued bird meat." Bird Bud shrank its neck in fear. "Jie, so scary. I'm scared to death." Lei Xingfeng laughed. "Now you know how powerful it is. Don't be reckless in the future." Bird Bud said, "But why aren't you afraid?" Lei Xingfeng said, "Because I have Lei Yin to transform. Of course I'm not afraid of lightning. Without Lei Yin, hee, I can't stand the lightning either." Bird Bud nodded. "Jie, without Lei Yin, you'll barbecued human meat? Jie, 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 Jie." It laughed happily. Lei Xingfeng admitted this point. He said, "That's right. Without Lei Yin, the possibility of barbecued human meat is very high." Bird Bud said, "I want Lei Yin even if I'm a bird." Lei Xingfeng said, "Bird Lei Yin, ha, this is probably difficult, ha." Bird Bud was not affected. It said, "Why can't I have Lei Yin?" Lei Xingfeng said, "Okay, if you want Lei Yin, I have no objections. But I can't help you with this. Think of a way yourself." Bird Bud was suddenly discouraged. It said, "Jie, but I don't understand." Lei Xingfeng turned around and flew back, saying, "I don't understand either." I only understand the lay-in of humans. I don't understand the lay-in of birds. Bird Bud was in a dilemma. It kept muttering, Ga, why? Why? Ga, why can't birds have lay-in? Ga, birds want lay-in too. Birds want to be struck by lightning too. Lei Xingfeng ignored it. He looked for Jean Dia's boat in the heavy rain. Fortunately, the white fog had dissipated. In the heavy rain, Lei Xingfeng could still see far from the lake. Soon, he saw the lonely boat with the black bird. Lei Xingfeng landed at the bow of the boat. Jean Dia asked, "How was it?" Lei Xingfeng smiled bitterly and said, We only caught a tail and stopped very soon." "What a pity," Mad Eagle said. "Thunderstorm weather is everywhere during the rainy season, but it's so difficult to find one. It's really strange." Jean Dia said, "It's not strange. In fact, if we stay in the same place, we will encounter at least a few thunderstorms during the rainy season. If we swim like this, we won't be able to find it." Lei Xingfeng slapped his thigh and said, "That's right. It's better to wait in a place. There will be opportunities. Let's go and find a town on the water." Tiger Love said, "Which direction?" Lei Xingfeng said, "I don't know. Whatever. We'll always find a town on the water." There were countless lakes in the Wanxi continent, and there were countless floating towns in the lakes. Apart from the central area of the lake, there would be a floating town every few dozen kilometers or even a few hundred kilometers. They were scattered all over the place, and there were too many to count. Mad Eagle suddenly pointed into the distance and said, "Hey, there's someone coming out at this time." A small boat swayed out from the reeds in the distance. Lei Xingfeng said, "Let's go and see." Chapter 266. As the rain continued to pour, a small boat came out from the reed marsh. Lei Xingfeng's boat quickly rowed over. Jean Dia said, "Just in time to ask, where's the water town nearby?" When the two boats approached each other, Xian Feng already knew that this was an empty boat. Half of it was filled with water, and no one was in sight. Xian Feng shook his head. "This is a ghost boat." The so-called ghost ship was a disaster caused by the storm during the rainy season. The lake here was huge. Once there was a storm, the huge waves were very terrifying. Ordinary boats could not withstand it at all. The ordinary people on the boat could drown and disappear. This kind of boat that lost the fishermen was the so-called ghost ship. Jean Dia said, "Unlucky, it's actually a ghost boat." Tiger Love pulled the oar, and the boat rowed along the ghost boat towards the reed marsh. Mad Eagle flew into the air and carefully looked around. After landing, he said, "Follow the reed marsh and then go to the right." When the boat turned around the reed marsh, Lei Xingfeng already recognized where this was. It was actually the place where he fell out of the ancient Luan Passage and almost drowned. Later, he was saved by the fisherman Uncle Zhou Tong. He said, "Go this way? Haha, I know this place." In this small town, he got to know many people, including the cultivator Zhonggang and his disciple. Later on, he also sent people to contact them. Soon, Lei Xingfeng saw the water town in the distance. Xian Feng sighed. Back then, he was just a Milun master, and it was from here that he became Gu Qi's disciple. After entering the secret door, his cultivation increased by leaps and bounds. Now, he was already a true master with 8 true ring bodies. The boat docked at the wooden pier. Because it was the rainy season, the wooden pier was densely packed with boats. Mad Eagle tied the boat to the pier and said, "You live on the boat." Lei Xingfeng said, "Follow me, I know someone here." They walked along the wooden street. Due to the heavy rain, there were basically no pedestrians on the street. All of the fishermen were sheltering from the rain at home or on their boats. Following the narrow street, the 4 of them quickly arrived near Zhonggang's residence. Zhong Gung's residence was separated from the street by a stretch of water, which required a small boat to ferry them across. However, the four of them could fly, so they were able to cross this distance directly. Jean Dia smiled. A local cultivator. Lei Xingfeng nodded and said, "Yeah, it used to be a Wanluanshe residence. I wonder if he has advanced in rank, he." After a long time, his memory had become a little blurry. The main reason was that Zhonggung's cultivation level was too low. He couldn't remember whether Zhonggung had advanced or not. Mad Eagle knocked on the door, and soon someone came to open it. Lei Xingfeng knew the person who opened the door. He was a servant of the Tian family. However, he looked extremely old. He had a pair of presbyopic eyes and said, "Hey, how did you guys get here?" Because the house was a few hundred meters away from the small town, it was impossible to get here without a boat. Lei Xingfeng smiled and said, "Is Zhonggung home?" The servant was shocked. He saw that Lei Xingfeng looked familiar and said, "He's home, he's home. I'll go and report." Soon, Zhonggung came out with two people. Lei Xingfeng knew them. The two people behind Zhonggung were his disciples, Wu Zhen and Han Xiaobao. When Zhonggung saw Lei Xingfeng, he couldn't help but be stunned. He said in surprise, "Brother Lei?" He subconsciously called him that. In fact, he had already changed the way he addressed him earlier. Jean Dia snorted and took a step forward. His aura covered the sky and crushed the earth. A small mill wheel master dared to call Lei Xingfeng brother. He really didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Although Zhonggung had advanced to one true ring body later, it was because of the Luan imprint left by Lei Xingfeng. However, when he was crushed by a ninth ring sage's aura, he immediately became silent. Behind him, Wu Zhen almost knelt down. The three of them trembled. Lei Xingfeng felt that something was wrong and immediately stopped him. "Uncle Jean, don't, they're my subordinates now. It's just that they haven't been to the sect yet." Only then did Jean Dia retract his aura. "I just wanted to remind them." Huh? He took a step back and stood behind Lei Xingfeng. Zhonggung's heart trembled. Although the aura just now was only for a moment, he felt like he was about to suffocate. With his experience, of course, he knew that the other party was extremely powerful. "Senior?" Jean Dia said indifferently. "Ninth ring sage, Jean Dia." Zhonggung couldn't hide the shock on his face. What a joke. He was just a country bumpkin. How could he ever meet a ninth ring sage? He rarely even saw a first ring sage, let alone a ninth ring sage. He was so scared that he hurriedly bowed. "Greetings, senior." Jean Dia raised his hand to stop him. "I'm just a Xingfeng's guard. You don't have to be so polite." Lei Xingfeng said, All right, don't be so polite. Old Zhong, let me introduce you. These are my three guards, Mad Eagle, Tiger Love, and Jean Dia. They're all ninth ring sages." Zhonggung knew that Xian Feng's sect was very powerful, but finding three ninth ring true masters as guards still shocked him. Ninth ring true masters were experts that many large sects didn't even have, and Xian Feng actually brought three of them. He didn't dare to say much and could only bow. Zhonggung greets the three seniors. Mad Eagle said, "Big Tooth, you scared him." Lei Xingfeng said, "Old Zhong, don't be so nervous. They're very nice people." Zhonggung said, Yes. He didn't know where to put his hands and feet. Wu Zhen and Han Xiaobao were also panicking. Lei Xingfeng smiled bitterly. "Old Zhong, it's raining so heavily. You can't make us stand at the door all the time, right?" Zhonggung hurriedly invited them in. Lei Xingfeng came to the familiar hall and smiled. "Old Zhong, you're living a good life." This house is very well built." "Oh, right, Tanda and the others aren't here?" Zhonggung smiled bitterly. "Tanda went out to travel. He's already reached third ring sages. Haha, he said he wanted to see the outside world. So I'm in charge of this place. Lei Xingfeng had ordered his subordinates to send some Luan rings every year. Zhonggang and Tanda benefited from these Luan rings, and their cultivation rose a lot. They were now considered Lei Xingfeng's outer circle. There were people in charge, but because they were in a remote place, they weren't needed for now. Zhonggang asked, "Senior, why did you come here this time? If there's anything I can help with, just let me know." Lei Xingfeng said, "Nothing, I'm just going to stay here for a while." As for why, he didn't explain. Zhonggang smiled. "Feel free to stay here." Ha, Wu Zhan, get people to prepare a room and change everything. And Xiaobao, go to the kitchen and get them to cook some special dishes. Wu Zhan and Han Xiaobao got up and went to prepare. Lei Xingfeng asked, "Uncle Zhou Tong and little Xian, are they okay?" Zhonggang smiled. "It's already been arranged. Little Xian is already married and has children. They've moved to the town controlled by Tanda." Lei Xingfeng nodded. "That's good." Lei Xingfeng had always been grateful to Uncle Zhou Tong and little Xian. It was just that they were normal people and couldn't get close to cultivators. He could only order his subordinates to take care of them. A rich life wasn't a problem. Lei Xingfeng asked about Zhonggang's cultivation situation and gave him some pointers. He also left some Luan rings. Because Zhonggang had Luan rings, his cultivation speed was many times faster than before. He had already reached the peak of one ring and was about to reach the second ring. The Luan rings that Lei Xingfeng left behind solved a big problem for him. With these Luan rings, he knew that it wouldn't be a problem for him to reach the second ring body. He was extremely happy. The next day, the rain stopped and a rare sunny day appeared. The sun shone brightly, and many fishermen took this opportunity to dry their clothes and blankets. Lei Xingfeng sat on Zhonggang's private dock. There was a large table, and the few of them sat around it and chatted. Zhonggang and Wu Zhan sat with them. Because Wu Zhan and Lei Xingfeng were very close, they had fought side by side when they met the masker. Lei Xingfeng specially asked Wu Zhan to accompany them and answer some cultivation questions. Wu Zhan was about to reach the first ring body and needed many Luan rings. Luckily, Lei Xingfeng came this time and left him enough Luan rings. Therefore, he wouldn't have any problems advancing. Jean Dia said, "Afeng, you might as well go to Disorderly Lake Mountain to cultivate." Lei Xingfeng said, "Is it Mount Leiji?" Jean Dia said, "Yes, there are more thunderstorms there, and it's the rainy season now. I believe that Disorderly Lake Mountain is better than here." Lei Xingfeng didn't want to run. He said, "I'll reach the 9th ring body and only need a few days to cultivate. There's no need to go to Mount Leiji. I'll go when I really need it." The black bird curled up on Lei Xingfeng's shoulder. It hadn't spoken for a long time and had been curled up like this. However, its body was undergoing tremendous changes. It had absorbed a bit of natural lightning and was of great help to it. However, the black bird was still in its infancy. No matter if it was strength or body, it was still considered weak. Suddenly coming into contact with natural lightning, although Xian Feng had filtered it, it was still not something that it could immediately absorb. Thus, it had entered a dormant state. Its mind was also in a daze. It basically did not speak, but sometimes it would say a few words and then continue to be in a daze. Lei Xingfeng also noticed the blackbird's changes, so he didn't disturb it. Blackbird suddenly said, "I still want to chop." Just this sentence shocked Zhonggang and Wu Zhan to the point that they were dumbstruck. After a while, Zhonggang asked carefully, It can speak." Wu Zhan said, This bird is alive." As the blackbird had been motionless, he thought that Lei Xingfeng was carrying a specimen. He didn't expect it to be able to talk. The blackbird said, Nonsense! Lei Xingfeng smiled and said, "Don't worry about it, it's my pet." Even if the black bird was confused, it didn't agree with this sentence. It said, "You're the pet. You're the bird's pet." Lei Xingfeng said, "Go to sleep. Otherwise, I'll pluck your fur and eat your meat." Chapter 267. The blackbird said, "Caw, you only know how to bully me." After saying that, it hid its head back into its wings. Jean Dia laughed. "Bird Bude is really something. Ha! It won't take any losses." The blackbird thought, "Idiot who wants to take losses." However, it didn't say it out loud. After all, Jean Dia was so strong that it didn't want to provoke him. It wouldn't be worth it if it got beaten up. This bird isn't an idiot. It comforted itself and continued to be confused. Lei Xingfeng said, "Bird Bude should be absorbing lightning and cultivating. Its cultivation is different from ours. Don't worry about it. It will naturally become active after absorbing lightning." Zhonggang said, "Absorbing lightning? That's amazing." Lei Xingfeng said, "It's also of the lightning attribute." Ha! It's not a local species. It was found in the outer world. Zhonggang hadn't come into contact with this area and didn't know what the outer world was. Wu Zhen said, "Senior, what is the outer world?" Lei Xingfeng said, "The outer world? Ha! Simply put, it's not the world we live in now." Wu Zhen smiled bitterly. He still didn't understand, mainly because he didn't have the concept. He didn't even understand this world, let alone the outer world. Lei Xingfeng said, "Right. Uncle Jean, I heard the founder mention the outer space. What is that place?" Jean Dia shook his head. "It's also the outer world. I don't know." Mad Eagle said, "I know this. After a true monarch opens the secret door, he can go to the outer world. However, the secret door of a heavenly monarch leads to the outer space. However, it's better not to go there without the strength of a true monarch. It's too dangerous and easy to die." Xian Feng spoke. "No wonder a few of the ancestors' disciples seem to have died in the outer space. I've heard the ancestor mention it before, but I thought that the outer world was the outer space, so it wasn't." Mad Eagle said, "Actually, I'm not too sure either. Because I've been in the hidden sect for a long time, I've heard some news." Lei Xingfeng nodded. Before reaching the level of a true monarch, there were many things that one would not know. Even if his master and ancestor knew, they would not say much. Zhonggang and Wu Zhen simply couldn't get a word in. The two of them just sat there in a daze. Lei Xingfeng waved his hand and said, "All right, let's not talk about this. Old Zhong, did anything happen around here recently?" He wanted to know more about the situation. Zhonggang's spirit was suddenly lifted. He might not know about other things, but he was very clear about what had happened a while ago. After all, he had been living here for a long time and was also a cultivator. He was very clear about what had happened in this area. Yes, a while ago, there was a group of people wearing masks. They were searching everywhere. I don't know what they were looking for. Lei Xingfeng's heart skipped a beat. The masked men should be from the hidden sect. This was confirmed, without a doubt. In this world, he had clashed with two groups of forces. Unfortunately, they were all from the hidden sect. If he had not joined the hidden sect, he probably wouldn't have been able to figure out the ins and outs of his opponents. One group of forces was C. Dano's hidden sect. They had been temporarily suppressed. But Lei Xingfeng believed that if they met in the outer world in the future, they would probably still have to fight. Now that Tian Kuo was suppressing them, there shouldn't be much of a problem. The other group of forces was the masked men. Both sides had fought many times. It was basically a situation where one side would not rest until the other was dead. However, until now, Lei Xingfeng still didn't know which hidden sect these masked men belonged to. He also didn't know if the ones controlling these masked men were direct disciples of the hidden sect or someone higher up. Lei Xingfeng really hated the masked men. This group of people was really strange. It felt like they were crazy. Anyone who unintentionally stood in their way would be seen as an enemy. If they were weaker than them, they were basically dead. Jean Dia said, "What are they looking for? Are they looking for us?" Zhong Geng said, "It doesn't look like they're looking for people. It looks more like they're looking for something or something else. But they definitely aren't looking for people." Mad Eagle said, "Why aren't they looking for people?" Zhong Geng said, "They're all asking and looking for specific areas of the lake. They've never been looking for anyone. It can be seen that their focus is on the location and not the person. Otherwise, the cultivators in these places would have been captured long ago." Wu Zhen said, "Because of this, we even hid for a period of time. Later, we found out that they weren't looking for people." Lei Xingfeng said, "Then what would they be looking for?" The few of them kept guessing. Jean Dia said, "Could it be that an ancient hidden Luan appeared here?" When this sentence came out, it shocked everyone. Ancient hidden Luan. This thing was definitely a huge temptation. If it really was an ancient hidden Luan, Lei Xingfeng wouldn't let it go no matter what. The harvest from the ancient hidden Luan last time was huge. Although they only got a small portion, with the addition of Elder Thunderstorm, they got the essence of the ancient hidden Luan. It was a pity that Lei Xingfeng was too weak at that time. He didn't know what was really good. He even thought that the ancient Yin ring was an ancient golden ring. If it wasn't for that little money grubber, Lei Xingfeng wouldn't have taken it. He missed out on such a good thing. Only when he entered the hidden sect and received guidance from the ancestral master did he know that the golden ring he got was an ancient Yin ring. Even now, Lei Xingfeng treasured it. No one would be indifferent to an ancient hidden Luan, even if it was a hidden sect or a monarch. If they knew where an ancient hidden Luan appeared, they would rush over to take it. When the ancient hidden Luan first appeared, Lei Bao and the others had the upper hand because they knew about it early and were prepared early. Before those secret sects could react, they had already entered. In the end, they were still hunted down by the secret sections. Tai Long was also captured and tortured to make him spit out the items he had collected. The other sects were slaughtered in all directions. Lei Xingfeng said, "Call our men over. I want to know what the masked man is looking for." Jean Dia said, "Should we call our retainers over?" Lei Xingfeng had 4 retainers, but they were all given to him by the hidden sect. Because they were rarely together, Lei Xingfeng often forgot about them. He thought for a while and said, "Let's see. If they're not good, then forget it. If they're good, then use them first." As his cultivation grew, he started to have his own opinions. Perhaps when the time came, he would promote Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love to be his retainers. The retainer's position was very high, even higher than Xian Feng's housekeeper, but they basically didn't care about anything. Most of them stayed in the secret hidden space to train, and unless there was an urgent mission, they wouldn't come out. They were all 9th ringed experts. Lei Xingfeng also knew that his 4 retainers were the old 9th ring true masters of the hidden sect. They used this name to retire and at the same time get some Yin rings to prolong their lives. From the beginning, Lei Xingfeng didn't plan on using his retainers. And after a while, he knew the inside story. These retainers were all here to retire. As long as they weren't given any power and were allowed to cultivate in their homes, they wouldn't fight for power. It was the same no matter where they retired. If Lei Xingfeng wanted to develop his retainers, he would have to slowly cultivate them. For example, Mad Eagle, Tiger Love, Jean Dia, and even Jean Depeng, Qi Xian, and Hong Chen were all worth nurturing. Jean Dia had only seen the ancient hidden Luan once in his life, and it was cleaned out by someone. When he arrived, nothing was left. However, he later obtained some treasures from other cultivators. They were obtained through trade, and he spent a lot of good materials. If the ancient hidden Luan really appeared, this place is going to be lively. This area is where the hidden sects gather. Zhonggung was shocked. What? This is where the hidden sects gather? How come I don't know about this? Normal cultivators really didn't know about the hidden sects, but with Zhonggung's understanding, the hidden sects gathering place should be better than the cultivators in other places. Who knew that there was no news at all? This made him extremely confused. Lei Xingfeng explained. This is different. When a hidden sect is established, it usually has a hidden space. The reason why this is where the hidden sects gather is because many of the entrances to their hidden spaces are in this area. Hidden sects usually don't develop at their doorstep. Zhonggung sighed. Sigh, what a pity, Mad Eagle laughed. Don't feel pity. The reason why there aren't any strong cultivators here is because they were all taken in by the hidden sects. If they don't want to join the hidden sects, they will be chased away. That's why low-level cultivators like you can occupy this place. Otherwise, do you think no one will care about you occupying this place? Tiger Love also said, if you were talented, you would have been taken in by the hidden sects long ago. Even with your talent, you were still taken in by a Feng in the end. Jean Dia also laughed. The masked men didn't sweep this area because they knew it was impossible. Even if there was a conflict, it would only be against one hidden sect. There wouldn't be a large-scale cleanup operation. Who knows what powerful hidden sects they would provoke? Lei Xingfeng lightly patted his head. He was very interested in the masked men's actions. He said, Uncle Tiger, go back and immediately send people to this area to gather information. Old Zhong, send some people to help too. Zhonggung said, okay, I'll do it myself. Lei Xingfeng nodded. Okay, if it's really an ancient hidden Luan this time, you've done a great service. In the future, follow me to the hidden sects. Zhonggung was overjoyed. He said, yes, I'll definitely do this task well. Entering a hidden sect was like a carp leaping over the dragon gate for a cultivator like him. It meant that the world would be turned upside down, whether it was the progress of cultivation or the acquisition of resources. Compared to a small town on the water, the difference was like heaven and earth. Chapter 268. A large group of people were sent over. Among them were 4 retainers. They were all 9th ring sages, but they were very old. They first came to the floating town and met with Lei Xingfeng before spreading out to gather information. Lei Xingfeng wouldn't do these things. He just stayed in the small town and waited for the thunderstorm to come. The next day, there was another heavy rain, but it was thunder and lightning. Lei Xingfeng looked gloomily at the sky and said, What the hell? The rain is so heavy. Why isn't there any thunder or lightning? The black bird also croaked. It had already absorbed the lightning and was full of energy. It was also looking forward to being struck again. Looking gloomily at the rain, Lei Xingfeng said, If there's no other way, let's go to Lei Ji Mountain. Jean Dia laughed. You have to be patient. If you leave here and there's another thunderstorm, you'll lose a lot. Lei Xingfeng said, Okay, I'll continue to wait. Jean Dia laughed. Actually, there are many thunderstorms. I used to encounter them often, but the strange thing is that as long as you look for them, you won't find them. Lei Xingfeng was the most emotional. Finding thunderstorms had become his instinct, but he rarely encountered them. However, every time he did, his power would increase greatly. It was because of these thunderstorms that he grew from a small Luan master to an 8th ring sage's expert. This secret was known by Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love. Lei Xingfeng could only wait. However, after a few days, all kinds of news came. On this day, Jean Dia walked into Lei Xingfeng's room and said, "A phone, according to the information we received, there might really be an ancient Luan treasure in this area. There are some signs that there should be a large ancient Luan treasure, but we haven't calculated its exact location and time." And some of the retainers went to investigate. They are very experienced and should be able to find some clues. Lei Xingfeng said happily, "It's really an ancient Luan treasure?" Mad Eagle said, "It's just a possibility. We're not completely sure yet." When an ancient Luan hidden appeared, there would be all sorts of signs. As long as a high-level cultivator observed carefully, they would be able to find such signs. This was also one of the reasons why an ancient Luan hidden could not be kept a secret. Lei Xingfeng said, "Well, since that's the case, let's send the news back and inform Master." Jean Dia agreed. Everyone knew that it was impossible for them to monopolize the ancient Luan treasure with just the few of them. Only by sending people from their sect, or even Guqi himself, would they be able to occupy an advantageous position. Of course, there were many secret doors here. Even if Guqi came, he wouldn't be able to monopolize all of them. Lei Xingfeng knew that as long as he occupied the best position, once the competition began, he would be able to snatch the essence of the ancient hidden Luan. Thus, he didn't hesitate to report to his sect and let them prepare, hoping for a good harvest. When the news reached his sect, it immediately caused a commotion. Guqi immediately sealed the news and sent out a few experienced experts to assist Lei Xingfeng's men in their investigation. Some of Lei Xingfeng's senior apprentice sisters and brothers also ran out and directly came to Lei Xingfeng's town. The town also began to bustle. Xian Zhaoluan, Qi Meiyun, and Yinyao all stayed in Zhonggung's courtyard. Yuko came for a while and then left with his men. He wanted to personally investigate. Lei Xingfeng didn't run around. Although it wasn't a thunderstorm, his cultivation was much stronger than usual. He basically cultivated in his room. Other than eating, he didn't go out at all. After a few days of commotion, most of the people left. Xian Zhaoluan and the others also went to explore. Lei Xingfeng continued to stay in the town, waiting for the thunderstorm to arrive. Accurate news came that there was indeed an ancient hidden Luan. However, according to calculations, it would take at least 1 to 3 years for it to truly materialize. Lei Xingfeng immediately understood why the masked man had left in the end. They had probably calculated the day the ancient hidden Luan would materialize. In order to prevent the news from leaking out, they deliberately left. After Guqi received the news, he immediately called everyone back to avoid attracting the attention of other secret sections. The town on the water returned to its peaceful state. A while ago, the town was filled with cultivators. Moreover, they were all high-level cultivators. Fortunately, they were very peaceful and didn't cause the fishermen to feel uneasy. The fishermen were actually very happy because they used this opportunity to sell a lot of their stock. Cultivators were very generous and had great purchasing power. If they liked something, they would buy it in large quantities. Moreover, they would use gold rings. Even if the fishermen couldn't get change, they didn't mind. Zhonggung completed his mission. Lei Xingfeng also promised to bring him into the secret sections. Of course, he was Lei Xingfeng's subordinate. He temporarily stayed in the town and could go to the secret sects to obtain cultivation resources. After 10 days, Lei Xingfeng finally waited for a thunderstorm. After 4 days of clear skies, dark clouds suddenly covered the sky and thunder began to rumble. Xian Feng brought the blackbird out of the house. Jean Dia laughed. "It's finally here." "Hee hee." Lei Xingfeng carefully observed and said, "It's not here. You don't have to follow me. I'll go directly. The thunderstorm was about 10 kilometers away from the town. Lei Xingfeng had to rush over. He wouldn't foolishly wait in the town. The blackbird shouted, "Go quickly! Go quickly! Wahaha, caw! We're going to be struck by lightning, caw!" It shouted excitedly. Lei Xingfeng quickly flew towards the rolling dark clouds. Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love still flew after him. However, they didn't follow closely. Instead, they stayed a distance behind and followed from afar. After a few consecutive thunderclaps, Lei Xingfeng suddenly increased his speed to the fastest. At the same time, he released his Lei Yin. In just a few minutes, Lei Xingfeng rushed into the dark clouds. With Lei Xingfeng's current strength, he was no longer afraid of natural lightning. When Lei Yin rushed into the dark clouds, the lightning was immediately attracted. In an instant, a dazzling brilliance flashed. It curved like a strange snake, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws, directly striking Lei Yin. An earth-shattering thunderclap exploded. Lei Xingfeng's ears buzzed, and he saw stars. He knew that he was a little careless. Lei Yin was struck by lightning and immediately shone brightly. After being tempered by lightning several times, Lei Yin's ability to absorb lightning became stronger and stronger. After the lightning was converted, it flowed into Lei Xingfeng's body, and the excess hit the blackbird. The blackbird was really electrocuted to the point that it wanted to die. It kept shouting strangely, "Wah! So good. Lei Xingfeng received the power from Lei Yin, and his cultivation began to increase rapidly. After a while, another bolt of lightning struck Lei Yin. In an instant, Lei Xingfeng rushed into the 9th ring true body. The blackbird couldn't take it anymore. 2 bolts of lightning. Most of them were absorbed by Lei Yin. Some of them were transferred to Lei Xingfeng's body, and some leaked to the blackbird's body. Even so, it couldn't take it anymore. It shouted, the bird can't take it anymore. Caw! Lei Xingfeng said, "Fly down first." The blackbird flapped its wings and flew down. However, it flew unsteadily like a drunk bird. To Lei Xingfeng, this lightning baptism was extremely important. Not only did he have to accumulate the lightning serum, but he also had to refine Lei Yin. In addition, he had to condense the lightning true body. The 9th ring true body relied on natural lightning and an almost abnormal amount of energy to condense quickly. This advancement was extremely important to Lei Xingfeng. He needed to accumulate a large amount of Lei Yin's power in his body. If he didn't rely on natural lightning and just relied on his own accumulation, no matter how good his potential was, he would still need 7 to 8 years or even 10 years. However, a thunderstorm solved all his problems. Lei Xingfeng's only hope was that the duration of this thunderstorm wasn't too short. Constantly moving through the dark clouds, one lightning bolt after another struck Lei Yin. Sparks flew and arcs of light flashed. Waves of energy rushed into Lei Xingfeng's body. Lei Xingfeng's cultivation was rapidly increasing. When Lei Xingfeng felt that it was about time, the thunderstorm was still raging. Lei Xingfeng had an idea and shot out the chaos wheel in his body. In an instant, a bolt of lightning struck the chaos wheel. The chaos wheel immediately emitted a dazzling halo that spread out. With this strike, the quality of the entire chaos wheel increased. In an instant, Lei Xingfeng understood. It was the same principle as refining Lei Yin. The chaos wheel could be refined by lightning. Not only could it remove impurities, but it could also increase its power to a certain extent. The chaos wheel itself also required a large amount of energy. Lei Yin continued to stay in the clouds, absorbing the lightning energy. The chaos wheel was constantly struck by lightning. Sparks flew and arcs of lightning flashed chaotically. However, the quality of the chaos wheel increased little by little. This kind of improvement was what Lei Xingfeng dreamed of. In the future, adding in materials to refine, and then relying on the power of lightning to improve, this was a good path. The thunderstorm lasted for more than 3 hours before it ended. Lei Xingfeng descended from the clouds, feeling a little tired. Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love all floated above the lake. The black bird was on Jean Dia's shoulder, trembling. It didn't have Lei Yin's help. It relied on its own body to endure, absorbing the lightning bit by bit and changing its body. Lei Xingfeng reached out and grabbed the blackbird, placing it on his shoulder. The blackbird blinked, then closed its eyes again. However, its little claws grabbed onto Lei Xingfeng's clothes. Jean Dia laughed bitterly. I really don't think I'm going to survive this. A single thunderstorm, and you're already a 9th ring sage. Sigh, how difficult was it for me to ascend to 9th ring? I had to use at least 100 yin rings intermittently before I finally managed to ascend. Comparisons are odious, Mad Eagle said. That's why you're a guard, and a Feng is the master. Jean Dia wasn't angry. After spending so much time together, they had become very good friends. He nodded. Yes, that's why we're all guards. Ha ha. Lei Xingfeng knew that after this breakthrough, he wouldn't be in such a hurry to find a thunderstorm. Even if he did find one, it would at most allow him to accumulate more power. It wouldn't have anything to do with his breakthrough anymore. If he wasn't prepared, he would die without a doubt when he became a 9th ring sage. He knew this very well. Chapter 269. Lei Xingfeng's advancement had come to an end for now. What he needed to do now was train his Lei Yin force and solidify his foundation. Also, the most important thing from now on was to gather the materials needed for advancement and stock up on Yin rings. Even though Wu Yang had agreed to let him prepare the Yin rings for advancement, Lei Xingfeng wasn't going to be completely unprepared. He planned to get more Yin rings. Old Man Thunderstorm was also in the Wanxi continent. The arrival of the rainy season was also an opportunity for him to increase his cultivation. However, during the recent thunderstorm's cultivation during the rainy season, he found that he had reached the peak of 9th ring sage, but there was no hope for him to advance to monarch. He vaguely knew that a lot of preparations were needed to advance to monarch, but because he wasn't a member of a secret sect, he had no idea what he needed to do to advance. After fighting with Si Dano for so long, he didn't know how many of Si Dano's subordinates he had killed. However, Si Dano never showed up, which made him extremely unhappy. Today, he came to a small town on the water and found an old friend living in seclusion. He directly landed in that person's house from the sky. Old and Debeo, an old friend is here. And Debeo was a 7th ring sage. His face was covered in a beard, and he was abnormally old. He was originally a 9th ring sage, but he was heavily injured in a battle and his cultivation dropped to 7th ring. Since then, he had been living in seclusion in a small town on the water. And Debeo said, "Old Thunderstorm, you're rejuvenated. Your cultivation has actually recovered." Thunderstorm smiled. "Olden, my luck is not bad. Ha ha." And Debeo said, "Old Thunderstorm, do you have Yin rings?" Thunderstorm said, "You're using Yin rings to support yourself?" And Debeo sighed, "Yes, I have no choice. Without Yin rings, I won't be able to live much longer." Sigh, Thunderstorm took out 2 Yin rings. "I don't have many either." Use these 2 for now. These things are really hard to find." And Debeo said, "Actually, after you reach 9th ring, these things should be easy to get. Just join a secret sect, and you'll have everything. What about the matter I told you last time?" Thunderstorm shook his head. "I'm not used to serving people. Hee, you know that I have a bad temper, and I'm used to being alone." And Debeo said, "Forget it. Sigh, in a secret sect, if you're not a direct disciple, there's really no point. You can only get some rings. By the way, have you found the two children? Thunderstorm's face darkened. After a while, he said, Not a single one of them. Damn it, Stano. I'm not done with you. And DeBeo said, Maybe they were taken in by the secret sect. I heard you say that the two little guys have excellent aptitudes. This area is where the secret sect gathers. With the aptitudes of the two children, if they were seen by the people from the secret sect, they would not let them go. You can ask around. And DeBeo cooked a few dishes and took out a bottle of old wine. He said, Let's drink a little. It's been a long time since a friend came to visit. I can't find Aslan, Thunderstorm said. I don't know how the kids are doing. He picked up his glass and drank it, a bitter look on his face. And DeBeo said, Have you found the others? Thunderstorm shook his head. Something must have happened. I can't find them. Stano is from the secret sect, and he seems to be a direct disciple. That bastard hasn't come out. I can't find him. And DeBeo said, Be careful not to provoke his elders. Thunderstorm said, I know. The secret sect can be very shameless sometimes. I've always been careful. And DeBeo said, That's good. Sigh, I don't go back to the secret sect anymore. I just eat and wait for death here. Thunderstorm said, Without rings, you won't be able to last long. You should find something to do. Either go back to the secret sect or find materials to exchange for rings. Sitting at home like this is not a solution. In fact, and DeBeo's current state was like Lei Xingfeng's previous life's otaku. He was a deep otaku. He didn't go out at all. He just hid at home and lived off his savings. And DeBeo shook his head. I don't want to go back to the secret sect. It's all for someone else. Oh, right, I contacted a friend. He's planning to go to the outer world. Do you want to come? The materials you find, give half to that friend and keep the other half for yourself. You can also exchange them for rings. Thunderstorm asked curiously, I thought you didn't go out? And DeBeo laughed bitterly. I don't have a choice. I don't have any rings left. If I rely on myself to cultivate, there's no way I can improve. 1 ring a month is the minimum. If I can't reach that, my cultivation will drop. Once I drop to 6 rings, I'm basically dead. I can't just watch myself die. Thunderstorm said, Your friend is from the secret sect? A direct disciple? And DeBeo said, Yes, but he's unlucky. He's been preparing for almost 100 years, but he still hasn't collected all the materials. His position in the secret sect has dropped drastically. His subordinates, many of them have left. That's why he's looking for outside experts. There were rich and poor secret sects as well. For example, the secret sect that Xian Yao was in was an extremely wealthy one. There were also some secret sects that only had a single monarch in their sect. They were relatively weak and lacked rings. Even if they were direct disciples, their lives were miserable. Even if a 9th ring sage didn't join a secret sect, there were still many opportunities. For example, people in secret sects would try their best to recruit an expert like Lei Bao. 9th ring sages weren't cabbages. They were the backbone of the secret sections. Especially an expert like the old man Lei Bao, who had shocking battle strength. He was the target of recruitment. Of course, Thunderstorm was a very arrogant person. He didn't even consider joining the secret sect. He didn't rely on rings to cultivate. He relied on his own potential and special methods to become a 9th ring sage. He himself had the potential to become a monarch. After thinking for a moment, Thunderstorm said, Where do we go? He'd been to the outer world once before. It was also a friend who took him there. But the harvest was mediocre. He'd only been there for a short time. He'd earned 6 or 17 rings, mainly from guard missions. The Black Waters. And Debeo said, that place is very dangerous. The natives are very strong. We need a lot of guards. There's a material there that my friend urgently needs. Thunderstorm knew that if it wasn't dangerous, then there was no need to hire experts to protect him. He said, "What's the condition?" And Debeo's face lit up. 10 rings. Of course, it's fine if you don't want rings. Go and collect the materials. No matter how much you get in the end, you can leave half for my friend and deal with the other half yourself. You can also sell it to my friend or keep it for yourself. 10 rings. The price wasn't low, but it wasn't high either. Thunderstorm was a little hesitant. He said, "What material are you looking for?" And Debeo said, "A plant that grows in the Black Waters. It's called the black spirit fruit. It's used to concoct medicine." Thunderstorm was very knowledgeable. He knew what it was as soon as he heard it. He said, "Black spirit fruit. It's really valuable. 1 black spirit fruit should be enough to exchange for an ring, right?" And Debeo shook his head. 2 black spirit fruits can be exchanged for 2 rings. That's why I advise you not to ask for payment. Pick the black spirit fruit instead. Thunderstorm said, 2 rings means you need to pick 20 black spirit fruits to break even. Haha, I wonder if the Black Waters has that many black spirit fruits. And Debeo shook his head again. It's not how you calculate it. Old Thunder, I'm talking about the lowest quality black spirit fruit that can be exchanged for 2 rings. If it's the highest quality black spirit fruit, then 1 can be exchanged for 10 rings. Thunderstorm said, "That's more like it." "Right. How long will it take to enter the Black Waters this time?" There was a time limit to entering the outer world. Some places you could stay for a long time, while others couldn't. This mainly depended on the wealth of the monarch who opened the hidden door, as well as the amount of rings required. Entering and exiting the hidden door would cost a considerable amount of rings. Many monarchs set a time limit to save on rings. When the time limit was up, they had to return. And Debeo said, "About 1 to 2 months. I also hope to stay longer." Thunderstorm said, "All right, I'll go with you." Lei Xingfeng had already brought Jean Dia and the others back to the hidden door space. This time, he also brought Zhong Geng, Wu Zhan, and Han Xiaobao into the hidden door space to let them experience the hidden door. As soon as they reached home, they saw Yuko come out. When he saw Lei Xingfeng, he couldn't help but say happily, "Aya, you're finally home. I've already looked for you twice. Hee, if I still couldn't find you, I'll have to take them away myself." Lei Xingfeng asked curiously, "Eldest senior brother, why are you looking for me?" Yuko said, "It's your 3rd senior sister, Qi Meiyun. I'm just a messenger." Lei Xingfeng was puzzled. He said, "If 3rd senior sister is looking for me, why does eldest senior brother have to run back and forth? Can't you just send someone else?" Yuko said, I'm fine, aren't I?" "Right. I have a question. Why does 3rd junior sister want you to go to the outer world?" Lei Xingfeng said in surprise, "To the outer world?" Yuko said, Yes, to the outer world. This time, I'm going as well. Originally, we were already preparing to leave, but 3rd junior sister insisted on looking for you. So, I was very curious, so I took the initiative to look for you." Lei Xingfeng immediately understood that this was a matter of luck. He smiled and said, "Where are you going?" Yuko said, "To the Blackwater region." Chapter 270, Blackwater Realm? The name was unfamiliar. Lei Xingfeng asked, "What are we going to do?" Yuko said, "I think it's some kind of fruit. 3rd junior sister wants to concoct some medicine." "Ha! I think it's your little sister's hidden sect. They're helping her concoct it. Lei Xingfeng nodded. When are we leaving? Yuko said, You're the only one left. As soon as you arrive, we'll leave immediately. We've already prepared everything. Lei Xingfeng said, Give me half an hour. He immediately called Ishan over and arranged accommodations for Zhonggung and the others. He also took care of some household matters before asking, Eldest senior brother, how many people can we bring this time? Yuko said, You're the only one who can bring more people. Sai, I'm curious. Why can you bring more people, but I can't? I have to go alone. Lei Xingfeng smiled. Then you can bring more people. As long as there are yin rings, it'll be fine. Yuko said, Where would I get so many yin rings? You don't understand the importance of yin rings. If you can save them, save them. It wasn't that Yuko was stingy. As the eldest senior brother, he didn't want to fall behind his juniors. However, becoming a monarch was just too difficult. It wasn't just a matter of talent anymore. It was a matter of resources. It required a large amount of resources and yin rings, especially yin rings. For a 9th ring sage, that was a sea of yin rings. A normal 9th ring sage with a few hundred yin rings would be considered a millionaire. A few thousand yin rings would make one a millionaire. Only with 10,000 yin rings would one be considered a millionaire. But even that wouldn't be enough for one to ascend. Thus, once one reached the 9th ring sage level, if they still had hope of ascending, none of them would be generous. They would do everything possible to find yin rings. Lei Xingfeng didn't have this problem, so he was speechless at Yuko's stinginess. He said, Let's go. Are we going to Master's Place or the Grand Master's? Yuko said, Master's Place, of course. Who would dare disturb the Grand Master? Lei Xingfeng still brought Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love. He was already used to the 3 of them. He also had a blackbird on his shoulder. Soon, he arrived at his master's house. This time, Qi Meiyan had invited Xian Zhaoluan, Yuko, and Lei Xingfeng. She had also brought along 2 9th ring sages. The reason she had brought along Xian Zhaoluan and Yuko was because of their valiant strength. In addition, she had followed her 2 senior brothers to the outer world in the past. This time, she had brought them along as a way of returning the favor. The reason she brought Lei Xingfeng along was because Lei Xingfeng's luck was too good, and she wanted to bask in some of his glory. In any case, she knew that every time Lei Xingfeng went to the outer world, the people who went with him would all make a fortune. Gucci was used to his disciples requesting to go to the outer world. In any case, he had to pay a certain amount of yin rings. Part of it would be used on the secret sect, while the other part would be used as payment. There was no secret sect elder who would refuse such a request. Lei Xingfeng didn't know that Elder Thunderstorm was also going to the Blackwater region. However, he didn't have many opportunities to go to the outer world. Every time, it was his senior brothers and sisters who brought him in. And every time, they would try their best to let him bring his own subordinates. He was very grateful for this. When Lei Xingfeng saw Qi Meiyan, he immediately smiled and said, Senior sister, thank you for bringing me to the Blackwater region. Qi Meiyan giggled and said, Junior brother, I want to bask in your good luck. I hope I can get a few more black spirit fruits this time. The Blackwater region is quite dangerous, so you have to be careful, Xian Zhaoluan suddenly said. That's not right. Afeng, you've actually advanced to 9th ring sages. You're too exaggerated. Gucci glanced at Lei Xingfeng and smiled. As expected, Afeng is really amazing. You've advanced to 9th ring just like that. You can prepare the materials to advance to Monarch now. Ha! Lei Xingfeng said, It's still too early to advance to Monarch. I've just consolidated my ninth ring sages, so I still need a long time to cultivate. In fact, he knew that once he completely consolidated his cultivation, he could reach the peak of ninth ring if he encountered another thunderstorm. However, he wasn't in a hurry because gathering resources would take a long time. Unlike cultivation, as long as there was a thunderstorm, his cultivation could advance by leaps and bounds. Gucci nodded. I'm relieved that you've reached ninth ring sages. If you want to go to the outer world in the future, you can apply. Before reaching ninth ring sages, one didn't have the right to apply. Of course, if other seniors were to take him, then there wouldn't be a problem. Lei Xingfeng nodded in agreement. He also hoped that he could go to the outer world freely. Right now, he didn't lack yin rings. Going to the outer world usually required a sum of yin rings. If he was lucky, he'd receive far more than what he'd paid. Of course, it wasn't like there weren't any losses, but the majority of the profits were. Chi Meiyun said, Senior brother, Yuko has been to the Blackwater region. Big senior brother, explain the situation to everyone. Yuko said, the natives of the Blackwater region are very strong. They live in the water and have scales on their bodies. They're as agile as fish in the water. They're quite strong. Compared to cultivators, they're about as strong as first ring sages. However, in the water, their strength explodes. We call them blackfish people. They can't speak, so we can't communicate with them. They also like to eat humans. The last sentence made Lei Xingfeng's hair stand on end. He said, Eat humans? Yuko laughed. If a blackfish man eats a ninth ring sage, his strength will skyrocket. Therefore, we are the blackfish men's prey, Xian Jiaoluan said. So you're saying that we have to kill blackfish people as soon as we see them? Yuko said, Of course. If you provoke a large group of blackfish people, you'll have a hard time. Lei Xingfeng said, Are there a lot of blackfish people? Yuko said seriously, Blackfish people are male and female. Therefore, every blackfish people can give birth to little blackfish people. Blackfish people also grow very quickly. Usually after 5 or 6 years, they'll eat the black spirit fruit. As long as they eat the fruit, they'll basically become adults. In other words, they can have children. Therefore, blackfish people's tribes are usually very large. A large blackfish tribe can have hundreds of thousands of blackfish people. It's very normal. Lei Xingfeng said, It's very dangerous. Yuko shook his head. No, it's not too dangerous. No matter how many blackfish people there are, they can't fly. It's very easy to get rid of them. The only danger is picking the black spirit fruit. This is because all black spirit fruits are grown by blackfish people. To them, the black spirit fruit is a sacred item. It's a necessity for them to become adults. Therefore, anyone who dares to pick the black spirit fruit is their mortal enemy. Lei Xingfeng said, What kind of medicine can the black spirit fruit be used to make? Chi Meiyun's face turned slightly red. That's a medicine for women. You won't need it. Lei Xingfeng didn't say anything. This had nothing to do with him. Jean Dia coughed and said, Other than the black spirit fruit, what other specialties does the Blackwater region have? Yuko said, There's nothing else. Oh, right, there's a special product that's very interesting. It's the wine brewed by the blackfish people using a plant from the Blackwater region. It's very, very tasty. That thing can also be exchanged for yin rings, but it's very hard to find. After the blackfish people brew it, they bury it in the hidden island. You should know that blackfish people aren't very intelligent. Often, after they bury it, they'll completely forget about it. If you're lucky and find a place to bury it, then you'll be rich. Lei Xingfeng was very interested. How do I exchange it for yin rings? Yuko laughed. That's worth a lot of money. Depending on the age of the wine, a real aged wine can be exchanged for a een ring with just one tail of wine. That's the best quality blackfish wine. Hee, one caddy can be exchanged for 10 een rings. But after you taste it, I believe you won't exchange it for een rings. As he spoke, he smacked his lips and continued, I've tasted it once before. It was incomparably delicious. Lei Xingfeng immediately looked forward to it. In his past life, he didn't have a strong interest in wine. He liked to drink a little, but he definitely wasn't addicted to it. In this life, he was even more indifferent. Especially in this life, he hadn't encountered any particularly delicious wine. Therefore, he was interested in Yuko's description. Most importantly, this wine was valuable, very valuable. A single een ring was extremely valuable, just like a diamond in his past life. Top quality blackfish people's wine was actually worth a een ring. Not only was Lei Xingfeng shocked, but Jean Daya and the others were also looking forward to it. If they could get a few dozen caddies of wine, wouldn't they be able to exchange it for a few hundred een rings? Was there anything more profitable than that? Xian Zhaoluan smiled. Let's go dig for wine, hee. Yuko laughed. Stop dreaming. If the blackfish people can't even find the wine they've buried themselves, then you can imagine how well they've buried it and how successfully they've disguised it. Finding this stuff really depends on luck. Gucci said, All right, everything is ready. You may enter. The secret door opened. Lei Xingfeng was already used to it. He followed Yuko, Xian Zhaoluan, and the others through the door. This time, after the door opened, they entered midair. After Lei Xingfeng stepped through the door, he felt his body sink and fall. He immediately flew up and said, Damn midair! Yuko, Xian Zhaoluan, Qi Meiyun, Lei Xingfeng, Jean Daya, Mad Eagle, Tiger Love, and Qi Meiyun's 2 ninth ring sages. They were 2 old women who didn't speak much. A total of 9 people entered the Blackwater region. When Lei Xingfeng arrived at a new place, he would always take a look around. The Blackwater region was very unique. Lei Xingfeng's first impression was that it was filled with dirty water. It was similar to the Wanxi continent, but the water here was black. There were all sorts of plants growing in the black water, their shapes strange. There were also large amounts of purple duckweed plants that appeared on the surface of the black water. Lei Xingfeng flew to the surface of the black water and scooped up a handful. He was surprised to find that it was clear water. There wasn't a trace of black in it, but the entire surface of the water was as black as ink. Chapter 271. Yuko said, Don't look anymore. The real black water is 3 meters below the surface. That thing is like glue. Hee. That's where the black fishmen live. Remember, it doesn't matter how you fight the black fishmen, but don't go 3 meters below the surface. That black water will really sink you. Lei Xingfeng said, I see. Xian Zhaoluan said, Are there a lot of outsiders here? Did he mean that there were a lot of foreign cultivators? Qi Meiyun said, There are a lot. Because of the black spirit fruit, this is a place where high-level female cultivators must come. Xian Zhaoluan nodded. Female cultivators, especially high-level female true masters, could often find a lot of helpers. It was impossible for this place not to be bustling. Lei Xingfeng now knew that among the secret sects, there was actually an all-female secret sect. The secret sect that his little sister was in basically had no males. Even if there were, they would be outer members. Moreover, the secret sect that his little sister was in was extremely powerful, even more powerful than his own secret sect. In the boundless black water domain, one could occasionally see pieces of land. The land here was actually a small island in the black water domain. The island was full of short plants. There were very few tall trees, only short shrubs. Qi Meiyun said, The islands here are often flooded, so there aren't any tall trees. When we rest, we can set up camp on these islands. This is still the outer area of the Black Water Domain. We need to go to the place where the black fishmen gather. There should be a battle. Xian Jaluan said disapprovingly, those black fishmen shouldn't be much of a threat. The key is to harvest the black spirit fruit. I heard that the black spirit fruit grows underwater. Yuko said, it does grow underwater. Normally, when it bears fruit, the fruit is about 1 meter above the water surface. If it grows on land, we don't have to care at all. We just need to focus on snatching it. But underwater, it's very troublesome. The black fishmen can display their strength better in the water. Moreover, once they are injured, they will quickly sink into the Black Water Domain. Lei Xingfeng now understood why the cultivators and the black fishmen couldn't coexist peacefully. It was because the things that the cultivators wanted were all grown by the black fishmen. Lei Xingfeng said, can't we buy it from the black fishmen? You said, don't dream. The black fishmen won't trade. Moreover, once they find out that the cultivators are fighting for the black spirit fruit and they can't beat, they will destroy the fruit. Xian Feng was stunned. What the fuck? They're forcing us to kill them. Yuko said, that's right. You have to act fast. Kill as many black fishmen as possible and harvest the fruit quickly. Otherwise, you will find that you won't get anything. Lei Xingfeng said, will they destroy the black spirit fruit so easily? Yuko said, they won't. The black spirit fruit is an extremely important resource among the black fishmen. Without the black spirit fruit, their tribe won't be able to grow. Lei Xingfeng said, then they will only destroy the black spirit fruit when they are in despair. Yuko nodded. Yes, that's why we have a chance to get it. Otherwise, if they find us and destroy the black spirit fruit, we won't be able to get it. Xian Jaluan said, in other words, we can't let the black fishmen feel despair. Otherwise, we won't get anything. Yuko pointed not far away and said, look, this is the hidden island. Looking down from the sky, a light color appeared in front of their eyes. Lei Xingfeng said, hidden island? What do you mean? Yuko smiled. The hidden island is the shallow beach on the clear water. It's usually about 1 meter underwater. It's usually a good place for the black fishmen to hide their wine. Xian Jaluan said, senior brother, you mean there's wine hidden in the hidden island below? Yuko said, nonsense. When did I say there's wine hidden in the hidden island below? I only said that the hidden island is where the black fishmen hide their wine. However, there might not be any here. Even if there is, can you find the location? This hidden island. If you want to excavate the entire island, don't do anything else. Even if you excavate the entire island, if there's no wine hidden by the black fishmen, your efforts will be in vain. Everyone understood this logic. There were countless hidden islands, and no one knew which hidden island the Blackfish people had hidden their wine. Being able to obtain the hidden wine of the Blackfish people was all due to a certain degree of coincidence. It was too difficult to go out of their way to find it. The hidden wine of the Blackfish people was nothing special, except that it was especially delicious. Therefore, cultivators would not take the initiative to find it. Lei Xingfeng glanced around and didn't find anything special. He was very confident in his eyes. If there was really hidden wine hidden in the hidden island, he would definitely be able to see the signs. However, Lei Xingfeng's mind wasn't here. He was thinking about how to get more black spirit fruit. Since it was a material for women, and he had already entered the Black Water region, then getting some black spirit fruit for his little sister had become a mission for himself. Yuko said a few more words and then said, "Okay, let's go to the center of the Black Water region." Actually, we don't need to go to the center. Let's look for the small tribes of the black fishmen. The big tribes are not easy to deal with. There are too many enemies, and it's easy to get into a mess. The small tribes are our targets. After flying past 3 hidden islands, Lei Xingfeng saw something different. At the edge of a hidden island, he saw a faint green light emerging from under the water. With his experience, he knew that there was a treasure under the water. As for what kind of treasure it was, he would have to dig it out to see. Lei Xingfeng suddenly stopped his flying body and said, "Everyone wait." His body had already dived into the water. The water was at most 5 meters deep. The hidden island was at the bottom. The current here was rapid, so there were bowl-sized pebbles at the bottom. Lei Xingfeng waved his hand, and an invisible force was released. Suddenly, the pebbles at the bottom of the water were lifted up. Mud and sand immediately spread out and dyed the clear water. However, in a few breaths of time, the dirty water was swept away by the current, revealing the messy pebbles. Yuko and the others followed Lei Xingfeng and landed. They hovered around him and looked curiously at Lei Xingfeng. In a few moments, the pebbles and mud at the bottom of the water were lifted up. Under the washing of the water, they could clearly see bunches of things that looked like grapes stuck together. Each of them was the size of a soccer ball from Lei Xingfeng's previous life. They were arranged neatly in a string and swayed slightly in the water. Yuko was extremely shocked. He said, This is the F** King, hidden wine of the black fishmen. How did a Feng know that there was one here? Chi Meiyan was also very surprised. She said, "Hidden wine? What kind of hidden wine is this? A string of balls?" Lei Xingfeng dragged the string of balls and stood up straight. He said, "This is hidden wine? What a strange method." Yuko quickly flew to Lei Xingfeng's side and jumped into the water. He bent down and helped Lei Xingfeng lift the string of balls. After observing it for a while, he couldn't help but exclaim, "This is good stuff. It must have been hidden for at least a few decades, or even 100 years. This must be a forgotten hidden wine, or the hidden wine of some small tribe. Either that tribe was exterminated or migrated." Lei Xingfeng looked at it carefully. This thing was about the size of a soccer ball from his previous life. He didn't know what kind of material was used to make the container because the wine was wrapped in a layer of translucent soft skin. It was this layer of soft skin that protected the wine inside. The color of the wine was even more special. It was actually a dark green color, giving off an extremely strange feeling. Yuko said, "This is top quality, hidden wine of the black fishmen." No, it's close to top quality. It's really top quality hidden wine. The color is black, and this one is a bit green. Perhaps it will completely turn black after a few years. Lei Xingfeng said, "How do you store this thing?" Yuko said excitedly, "It's easy to store. I'll tell you how. I remember that you have quite a few barrels made of blackwood, right?" Lei Xingfeng nodded. "Yes, I do. I made a large batch of blackwood barrels." Yuko smiled. "That's good. Put the water and the hidden wine into the barrels. When we get home, find some time and use a good crystal or porcelain bottle to store them. Also, the cork must be made of blackwood. That way, it can be stored for a few hundred years without a problem. The longer it is stored, the more delicious the wine will be." Lei Xingfeng immediately took out a large barrel as tall as a person and placed the water and wine inside. It took a total of 5 large barrels to store all of the hidden wine. Yuko clicked his tongue in wonder, saying, "This hidden wine is enough to exchange for a few hundred rings. Hee, I'm starting to believe in your luck." Lei Xingfeng smiled. "When we get back, everyone will have a share." When he said everyone would have a share, he meant that even the guards would have a share. Xian Jiaoluan clicked his tongue in wonder. This hidden wine was very interesting. There were about a dozen balls in a bunch, which was just enough to fill a barrel. Each ball was connected together, making a bunch. There were a total of 5 bunches here, which meant that there were about 70 to 80 soft balls. According to his estimates, each ball could hold about 3 to 5 caddies of wine. Yuko said, "Good. I hope we can find more next time. Hee, this is the first time I've seen hidden wine like this. Hee, I've drunk it once before. That should have already been the stored wine." Lei Xingfeng said, "Does this wine have a name?" Yuko said, "Yes. Some people call it the fishman wine, while others call it the black wine. However, because there are very few of them, many people don't know about this wine. It's said that this wine is very popular among monarchs. That's why you can use the fishman wine to exchange for yin rings." When Lei Xingfeng found the hidden wine, he knew that the Blackfish tribe's hidden wine wasn't a secret to him. As long as he had it, he would be able to find it. Although he hadn't tasted the fishman wine before, Lei Xingfeng knew that it was enough to exchange for yin rings. If he didn't like it, then he could just exchange it for yin rings. Even if it was a gift, it was still a good thing because he wouldn't feel bad about giving it away. Lei Xingfeng looked around, but soon lost interest. There shouldn't be any hidden wine around. Yuko said, "I know a good place. Do you guys want to take a look?" Qi Meiyan said, "Is there a black spirit fruit?" Yuko said, "No, it's an abandoned hidden island of a large tribe. It's a very, very large hidden island. Actually, you can't say that it's abandoned. It's because this large tribe was completely wiped out by cultivators. It was a monarch." Chapter 272. Xian Feng was shocked. Why did Monarch destroy it? Yuko said, because his disciple made a mistake and was surrounded and beaten to death by the Blackfish people. Furthermore, he was eaten, leaving only his head behind. In the end, this attracted the attention of his master. In his fury, he directly slaughtered the hundreds of thousands of Blackfish people in this large tribe. Lei Xingfeng sucked in a breath of cold air. This true monarch was truly ferocious. He could wipe out an entire tribe in one breath. Secret sex really couldn't be provoked. Once a true monarch-level expert was provoked, the consequences would be dire if there were no other experts of the same level. Xian Jiaoluan said, "Wiped out? This tribe is really tragic. Since this tribe is already gone, what's the point of going there?" Yuko said, "This large tribe cultivated a large amount of black spirit fruit. Of course, it has already been picked clean. But as you all know, since it's a plant, it will always grow. That's why you can always find some scattered black spirit fruit there. Most importantly, there are many hidden islands that people have excavated and found some scattered wine. However, the true location of the tribe's wine was never found." Qi Meiyan said, "Eldest senior brother, don't talk nonsense. So many people couldn't find it. What's the point of us going?" Yuko laughed and said, "Originally, I wouldn't have considered it. However, a foam gave me a surprise. So, if a foam goes and finds the tribe's wine storage, I won't be surprised. I'll only benefit from it." Ha. Everyone's eyes were fixed on Lei Xingfeng. Lei Xingfeng touched his face and said, "Why are you all looking at me?" The black bird extended its head and wings and said, "Because you're ugly." Lei Xingfeng said, "Shut up." The black bird felt wronged and said, "I'm ugly." So fierce, in the eyes of the black bird, everyone here was ugly. No one was pleasing to its eyes. The most important reason was that although these birdmen could fly, they didn't have beautiful wings. Yuko said, "Are you confident that you can find the wine storage?" Lei Xingfeng immediately shook his head and said, "Before I see it, I don't have any confidence." What a joke! He was not that stupid. However, once he got there, finding the hidden wine would not be a problem. After all, his reputation was out there. If others could not find it, he could find it. His good luck had already resounded in the hearts of his senior brothers and sisters. However, Xian Jiaoluan knew how perverted Lei Xingfeng was. He said, let's go together. We won't waste any time. At least we can see what's going on. Qi Meiyan nodded and said, eldest senior brother, let's go and take a look together. I believe in a phone. Yuko said, all right, let's go take a look. Everyone, follow me. I wonder if this place has been occupied by other Blackfish tribes. The group of people followed Yuko and flew in the opposite direction. In the boundless black water, Lei Xingfeng began to understand why this place was called the Black Water region. No matter how far they flew, the bottom was always black. Occasionally, there would be a patch of green plants. They were either plants on the water or small islands in the black water. Sometimes they would even see light-colored submerged islands. Usually, there would be a large number of fish gathered there. After flying for about half a day, Yuko said, all right, we're almost there. The black water in front is the tribe's encampment. There shouldn't be any blackfish left. At this time, everyone could see a bare island from the sky. There were no plants on it, but there were countless white bones. Yuko explained, back then, after the true Lord killed the Blackfish people, he threw their corpses on this island. It is said that the island was filled with the corpses of the Blackfish people. Even now, everyone can still see the white bones on the island. They were all left behind back then. The white bones pressed down on the island, covering the ground tightly. It was unknown how many blackfish had died to be able to gather so many white bones. Even weeds and trees couldn't grow. Yuko said, this is the tribe's residential area. Then, it should be the area where the black spirit fruit is grown. However, there aren't any black spirit fruits left. Most of them have been picked clean. Everyone can go take a look. In the black water, through the water, they could see plants growing below. Qi Meiyan said, I see a black spirit fruit. As she spoke, she flew down and quickly plucked a black spirit fruit from the water. It was a fist-sized black spirit fruit. On its black skin, there were specks of white spots. Yuko glanced at it and said, unfortunately, it hasn't matured yet. It should have only grown recently. There's no value in using it as a concoction. Qi Meiyan sighed. After everyone looked around, they all recognized the black spirit fruit. Qi Meiyan said, this is almost a wild black spirit fruit. It's a pity. Only the black spirit fruit cultivated by the blackfish has the chance to be of the highest quality. Wild ones simply won't work. Lei Xingfeng said, in other words, we have to snatch it. We have no choice but to do so. Yuko said, that's right. Moreover, it's not easy to snatch from a big tribe. It's best to snatch from a small tribe. Lei Xingfeng said, are there a lot of small tribes? Yuko smiled and said, if we all want to snatch from a small tribe, do you think there will be a lot of small tribes? Lei Xingfeng was speechless. He said, do you want us to snatch from a big tribe? We don't have enough manpower. Yuko smiled and said, it's fine. We can find partners. Qi Meiyan said, where can we find partners? We've been here for so long and haven't seen a single outsider. Yuko said, there is. This place is a bit remote. We have to go to the central area. There, many enlightened masters will gather and look for partners. Don't worry. One team won't be able to snatch that many black spirit fruits. We need several teams to work together to snatch a certain amount of black spirit fruits. Actually, even if we can't snatch the black spirit fruit, we can still exchange it for the black spirit fruit if we can get the hidden wine. The hidden wine of the blackfish is one of the best gifts for enlightened masters. Qi Meiyan said, then we'll have to depend on a Feng's luck. Lei Xingfeng said, "Okay, let's go to the hidden island and take a look." The hidden island here was extremely large. There were a total of 3 hidden islands. Each island had an area of 100 square kilometers. To find the hidden wine was like finding a needle in a haystack. Lei Xingfeng said, "Such a big place." Yuko said awkwardly, "Yes." Back then, many cultivators almost turned the hidden island upside down. Unfortunately, they still couldn't find the hidden wine of the tribes. They only found a few scattered hidden wines. They should be the Blackfish's private brews. They couldn't find a large-scale hidden wine at all. Lei Xingfeng smiled and said, "Let me take a look. If you want to rest, then rest." Jean Dia said, "We'll accompany you. There's a small island over there. You can rest there." Yuko said, "All right, we've been flying for a long time. I'm a bit tired. Let's go get something to eat." Lei Xingfeng brought Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love with Yuko. They landed on a small island and started cooking. Lei Xingfeng and Jean Dia flew along the edge of the hidden island. He now understood that the best place to hide the wine was at the edge of the hidden island. For the Blackfish, the edge of the hidden island was the safest place. They could return to the black water at any time to hide. Flying along the edge of the hidden island, Lei Xingfeng stared down. He knew that if there was a hidden wine, it would be glowing. Others couldn't see it, but he could. After a round, they didn't find any hidden wine. Instead, they found a lot of black spirit fruits. However, these black spirit fruits weren't ripe. Even if they were, their quality wouldn't be good enough. Lei Xingfeng obviously wouldn't pick them. After flying around the 3 hidden islands, Lei Xingfeng was surprised to find that there was no hidden wine. Instead, there were some scattered glows. There were about a dozen spots. After Lei Xingfeng dug up one spot, he found very little hidden wine. Usually, there were only a few softballs. However, because it was very old, the quality wasn't bad. Jean Dia was very disappointed. He said, "There is nothing." Lei Xingfeng laughed. "There is nothing. I guess the hidden place of the tribe is not here. Well, let's go somewhere else." After searching for more than an hour, Lei Xingfeng saw a blue light on the surface of the water. He pointed in that direction and said, "Uncle Jean, there, let's go there." He sped up and instantly arrived at the place where the blue light appeared. This was a very small hidden island. It was definitely no more than a kilometer in radius, and it was about to touch the black water layer. In other words, it was about 3 meters below the surface. If you didn't look carefully, you wouldn't know it was a hidden island. Lei Xingfeng was sure that this was the hidden wine place of the tribe. Jean Dia asked, "There is hidden wine here?" "Well, it's a good place. If we didn't come here, we wouldn't have found it." Lei Xingfeng directly jumped into the water. The blackbird was so scared that it flew up and cried, "Hey, you should tell the bird when you go into the water. You will drown the bird." Jie. Jean Dia also jumped into the water. The 2 dived down. The water here was about 3 meters deep, but they didn't care at all. They directly dived into the water and began to dig. In a few moments, the cover was lifted, revealing a dense, soft ball and countless hidden wine. The 2 then rose to the surface. They looked at each other and couldn't help but laugh. Jean Dia said, "Don't tell them for now. Let's dig first. Hee, we can share some with them when we go back." Lei Xingfeng laughed. "It's not necessary. Let everyone dig together. The hidden wine of the tribe is enough for each of us to earn." Jean Dia was used to being selfish. There was no other way. This habit had been formed long ago. He couldn't wait to take all the treasures he found. He said, "There is a lot of hidden wine here. We can choose some of the best ones first, and then let the others collect." Lei Xingfeng thought for a moment. After all, Jean Dia was thinking this for him. He said, "Well, let's collect some of the best ones first, and then call the others to come together." Jean Dia also knew that it was too selfish to collect all of them. He said, "You tell us where to go, and we will collect them together." Chapter 273. Xian Feng could see where the light was purer, which meant that the wine below was better. Pointing at two spots, Xian Feng and Jean Dia took one each and started to dig quickly. As expected, they dug out a string of soft balls. The color of the wine was almost black. If one were to look at it with a strong light, they would be able to see a dark green color. This was the Blackfish people's largest wine storage. It was a large tribe's wine cellar, but it was underwater. Lei Xingfeng pulled out a string of balls. This string of wine was of the highest quality. Who knew how long it had been stored? The originally bulging balls had shrunk a lot, like a bunch of shriveled grapes. There were about 10 balls in this string. They opened a large wooden barrel made of ebony and put the wine inside. This thing still needed to be processed, so it could only be stored like this for now. Jean Dia also found a lot of the highest quality wine. The two of them quickly collected a portion. Lei Xingfeng said, "Uncle Jean, it's done. Go invite them over." Yuko and the others were not far away, so Jean Dia didn't go over. Instead, he whistled and called them over. The ones who ran the fastest were Xian Zhaoluan and Qi Meiyun. The two of them knew about Lei Xingfeng's miraculous abilities, so when they heard the whistling, they immediately flew over. When the two of them saw Lei Xingfeng and Jean Dia busy themselves, they were overjoyed. They immediately knew that this was the tribe's wine storage. Xian Zhaoluan was very cautious. He said, "Afeng, how do we calculate this?" Lei Xingfeng said, "Let's each collect it. There's a lot of wine here. It's enough for us to make a fortune." Xian Zhaoluan jumped into the water without hesitation and began collecting. Qi Meiyun hesitated for a moment, but also jumped in. This thing could be exchanged for yin rings. Everyone lacked yin rings, so how could she bear to give it up? After a while, Mad Eagle and Tiger Love arrived. When the two of them saw the situation, they immediately jumped into the water. Yuko and the others followed closely behind. Yuko's eyes were about to fall out. He said in surprise, "Ah, you actually found it. Haha, this is great." He also jumped into the water and began collecting. Everyone had a hidden Luan space. They used all kinds of storage items to store the wine. In fact, the best storage item was the large wooden barrel made of ebony that Lei Xingfeng used. It could preserve the quality of the wine. Using other items were much less effective. Lei Xingfeng only stared at the top quality wine. The others didn't have such a terrifying vision, so they all followed suit and collected. Lei Xingfeng changed places from time to time, stirring up sand and pebbles. He quickly pulled out the wine and threw it into the large wooden barrel. In a short period of time, he had collected a few hundred barrels of wine. A large tribe with more than 100,000 Blackfish people had a shocking amount of wine. Moreover, it was all made by generations of Blackfish people. The amount was shocking. Even if Lei Xingfeng and the others had 9 people, it still felt like it was inexhaustible. Within 1,000 square meters, almost all the wine was stored. This was terrifying. Even if the 9 people were strong, they still had to put it into a container before they could store it in their hidden Luan space. They couldn't directly collect it, so the speed was obviously slow. However, no one complained. They were all busy with their work. Even if they didn't sell the wine, it was still good for their own people to drink. There were 3 layers of wine. Everyone collected them one by one. Soon, they found that the real top-quality wine was in the lowest layer. They even found wine that looked like blood. This was something they had never seen before, and there weren't many of them. It was Lei Xingfeng, Who found it? He first collected a dozen barrels before Xian Zhaoluan found it. Xian Zhaoluan didn't say anything. He followed Lei Xingfeng and started collecting. When the others found out, they had already collected most of the strange wine. When Yu Ko saw the wine, the last barrel had already been collected by Qi Meiyun. He anxiously asked, "What wine is this? What wine is this? Why is it red?" Lei Xingfeng laughed. "Big senior brother, even you don't know. How would we know?" Yu Ko pitifully said, "I didn't receive this red wine. Who told me to take a little?" Lei Xingfeng collected the most. He took out a red wine barrel and laughed. "All right, this barrel is for you." Xian Zhaoluan said, "Who told you to go to the side and collect the wine?" "Hee, I followed a Feng and found some wine of extraordinary quality." "Ha ha." He was very proud. At this time, the water was 6 to 7 meters deep. They were basically at the bottom. Yu Ko emerged from the water and shouted, "There's black mud below." Lei Xingfeng asked curiously, "What black mud?" Qi Meiyun had already reacted. She was pleasantly surprised. "Black mud. There's actually black mud here." Lei Xingfeng was puzzled. "It seems to be very useful. Hey, big senior brother, what black mud is this?" Yu Ko explained, "Only the oldest wine storage places have this kind of black mud. It's deposited after the wine storage is broken. It's also a rare material." Qi Meiyun said, "Even if it's not a material, when you collect the Fishman wine and put the black mud in, the quality of the wine will continue to improve. This kind of black mud can't be found unless it's a wine storage place that's more than 1,000 years old." The black mud was actually not thick. It was only a foot thick. Just this foot of black mud was an incredible treasure. To the Blackfish people, it was even more precious. Everyone quickly divided the black mud. Lei Xingfeng placed the black mud into the large barrel of wine storage. He didn't need to separate the barrels anymore. If he collected them like this, the quality of the Fishman wine would slowly improve. With the environment of the black mud, it was equivalent to having the Blackfish people's wine storage. After everything was collected, a huge hole appeared under the water. Yu Ko smashed his fist down from the sky. With a boom, the entire hidden island was smashed into a paste. The black water that was originally blocked by the island immediately invaded. Everyone knew that with a bit of time, all traces would completely disappear. No one would know that this used to be the wine storage of a large tribe. This loud sound attracted a group of people. After Yu Ko destroyed the Blackfish people's hidden island, a group of people quickly flew over from afar. Lei Xingfeng said, "Someone's coming." In the outer world, there were often conflicts. Of course, there were also many collaborations. Generally speaking, in the outer world, people from the secret sects would try to avoid conflict. No one was stupid. They came here to seek wealth and resources. Once a fight broke out, the losses would be great. Therefore, although Yu Ko and the others were on guard, they didn't plan to fight. Instead, they quietly hovered in the air and watched the group of people come over. It was actually a group of women. After Lei Xingfeng started cultivating, he knew that the women in this world were not to be trifled with. This was especially true for high-level female cultivators. They often had deep foundations of strength. Therefore, it was best not to provoke them. Even if you defeated them, there was nothing to be proud of. However, if you lost, it would be especially embarrassing. Qi Meiyun went up and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, is there anything I can help you with?" The group of women scanned the people in front of them and began to be careful. The other party had 9 ninth ring sages. They were a huge force here. Qi Meiyun quickly struck up a conversation with them. These 6 women were also from the secret sections. The 2 leaders were also direct descendants. The two direct descendants each brought 2 ninth ring guards. Lei Xingfeng whispered, "I wonder which secret sect they are from." Qi Meiyun quickly returned and said, "They are direct descendants of a small secret sect. I know this sect has always been very low-key. They want to join forces with us." Yuko thought for a moment and nodded. "Okay, but we have to be the leaders." Qi Meiyun nodded. "Okay, I'll go talk to them." She flew back and discussed with the 6 ninth ring sages. The possibility of cooperation here was very high. This was because everyone knew that a few 9th ring sages wouldn't be able to snatch the black spirit fruit from the black spirit men. The black spirit men couldn't fly, so they wouldn't fight in the air. However, if you wanted to pick the black spirit fruit, you would have to go underwater. Underwater was the black spirit men's world. No matter how strong you were, there were still great restrictions in the water. The black spirit men's natural talent was to control the black water and use it to attack. In addition, the black spirit men also had their own special weapons. The power of these weapons couldn't be underestimated. In order to get the black spirit fruit, a certain number of sages were needed to restrain and harass the black spirit men. Therefore, cooperation was inevitable. Especially when the black spirit men suffered too many casualties, they would start to destroy the ripe black spirit fruit. This was a headache for all the sages who came to snatch the black spirit fruit. In other words, you couldn't kill too many black spirit men. Qi Meiyun brought 2 young women over. Lei Xingfeng carefully observed them and found that they weren't young. He could clearly see the wrinkles at the corners of their eyes. They only looked young because they took good care of themselves. One of the women said, "Mingyu, 9th ring sages." The other woman said, "Wei Lin, 9th ring sages." As the eldest senior brother, Yuko was the first to introduce himself. "Yuko, 9th ring sages." "Junior sisters, are you also here for the black spirit fruit?" Mingyu smiled. "Yes, we just came in." Master said, "It's best to cooperate with other cultivators." "Hee, so we came." She looked very lively. Xian Zhaoluan also stepped forward. "Xian Zhaoluan, 9th ring sages. Welcome to the team." Lei Xingfeng stepped forward and said, "Lei Xingfeng, 9th ring sages." He didn't say much and just gave a simple introduction. Qi Meiyun smiled. "Good. Now, we have 6 more masters. If we find a few more people, it'll be enough to attack a medium-sized black spirit tribe." Due to Yuko's punch, he had destroyed the black fishman's hidden wine island. Even now, it still hadn't completely calmed down. Clumps of black mud continuously rolled out from the water. These were the black mud that hadn't been collected before. For example, the black mud in the corner of the island was over 1,000 years old. Although Xian Feng and the rest had tried their best to collect it, there was still a lot left behind. Under Yuko's attack, a lot of black mud rolled out. Wei Lin's guard whispered a few words into her ear, and Wei Lin's expression immediately changed. Chapter 274. Wei Lin's guard suddenly dove down and scooped up a clump of black mud, flying back to Wei Lin's side. Clearly, Wei Lin's guard recognized the black mud. She knew what it was. Wei Lin held the black mud and muttered something to Mingyu. Both of them smiled. Wei Lin came before Yuko. She already knew that Yuko was one of the leaders of this group. She said, "Senior brother, congratulations first. I didn't expect you to be able to find a place where the blackfish people hide their wine. Senior brother, can you let us have some?" Yuko asked, "How do you want to sell it?" Wei Lin smiled. "According to the market price, of course. This time, we promised our master that we would find some blackfish people's hidden wine." Yuko nodded. "No problem. According to the market price, no problem at all." Who wants to trade? He didn't want to trade at the moment. If he used the Blackfish people's wine well, he could get more benefits. Yuko didn't want to trade, but the others were willing. Jean Daya's hidden wine was second only to Lei Xingfeng. After all, he was the one who started with Lei Xingfeng. The two of them dug up a batch of top-quality hidden wine, and later on, they found a lot more. Jean Daya didn't care at all. He said, "I'll trade." Although it was according to the market price, in a place like this, it wasn't really the market price. It was much cheaper. Outside, it was 1 caddy, but here it was 1 softball. A softball was about 3 to 5 caddies of hidden wine, just that it wasn't divided. Jean Daya didn't bring out the highest quality Tibetan wine, only the normal quality Tibetan wine. He traded a softball for a yin ring and made the deal with Wei Lin and the others. Even their guards joined in. It was too cheap. 1 yin ring for 3 to 5 caddies. When they returned, they could exchange 1 caddy or even 2 caddies for a yin ring. Anyone would know how to calculate. So, of course, they were satisfied. They exchanged over 70 yin rings in one go. Both sides were very satisfied, especially Jean Daya. He felt like he was robbing someone. He'd casually taken out his hidden wine and exchanged it for so many yin rings. He was overjoyed. This thing was too easy to make money from. Wei Lin and Mingyu were also very satisfied. Earning twice the price so easily was a rare thing. The group of people arrived at the small island where Yuko and the others were resting. After eating some simple rations, they began to discuss how to find the Blackfish tribe. The black spirit fruit was not something that could be obtained easily. One had to go through a battle and defeat the black spirit fruit in order to harvest it. This was very difficult, mainly because the black spirit fruit would be destroyed by the black spirit fruit. This required all kinds of coordination and cooperation. Only then could they succeed in robbing the black spirit fruit. Yuko had been to the Blackwater region before, so he was more familiar with the situation. Wei Lin and Mingyu, on the other hand, were here for the first time. They were relying on an old woman, a 9th ring sage. Not only had she been to the Blackwater region before, she had been here 3 times, so she was very familiar with the situation here. The old woman's surname was also Wei, and her name was Wei Hong. Wei Lin called her Grandma Hong. Elder Hong said, "Most of the enlightened masters who enter the Blackwater domain will go to a temporary gathering point. I haven't been here for almost 6 years. I don't know if that temporary gathering point is still there. If it's still there, then it'll be easy to handle, because the temporary teams are all gathered there." Yuko said, "You mean Qingshui Island?" Elder Hong nodded. "Yes, that's the place." Qingshui Island's geographical location determined that there were no black spirit fish there. Because the water depth in that area did not exceed 3 meters, there was no black water. The area was also very large, a few hundred square kilometers. There was an island in the middle, the famous Qingshui Island. Many enlightened masters knew about this small island. As long as one came, it was impossible not to go to Qingshui Island. Unless one was a lone traveler, one had to go to Qingshui Island to find enough manpower. Lei Xingfeng said, "Go to Qingshui Island." The blackbird parroted, Go to Qingshui Island." "Caw," Jean Daya said. "Bird Bude, what are you so excited about?" The blackbird gave him the back of its head and said disdainfully, I'm happy. Caw, I like it," it said proudly. "There's meat to eat if I follow boss." Jean Daya couldn't help but laugh. "Since when did you start calling me boss?" The blackbird said, "Of course, I'll call you boss." Lei Xingfeng was speechless. After a long while, he said, "Shut up." The blackbird suddenly stopped talking. After a long time, it said, "Sigh, Eating people is the shortest. Caw, you're bullying me again. It immediately flew into the air, looking very wronged. Wei Lin and Mingyu looked at the black bird curiously. They couldn't figure out why this bird could talk. As the two of them weren't very familiar with each other, the two of them suppressed their curiosity and just stared at the black bird. Lei Xingfeng raised his hand and shot out a bolt of lightning. The lightning struck the black bird. Immediately, the black bird began to tremble violently. It said, "Ma, ma, caw, you can't cheat me like this." Other than Wei Lin's group, everyone else was used to Lei Xingfeng beating the black bird with lightning. Mingyu whispered, "Wow, it's so pitiful. It's calling for mother." The black bird finally stopped trembling and replied, "Who's calling for mother?" "The bird is calling. Ma, caw, is this girl's hearing bad?" Mingyu's face suddenly turned red. Wei Lin chuckled and said, "What a mean bird." The black bird said, "Again." Lei Xingfeng raised his hand, and another bolt of lightning struck down. The black bird kept trembling. This time, it was a little more ruthless. The black bird couldn't hold on and fell directly from the sky. It fell to the ground and bounced around. Finally, it recovered and said, "Sigh, it's hard on the bird. It's really hard on me. Caw." It knew that Lei Xingfeng wouldn't continue. It flew up from the ground and landed on Lei Xingfeng's shoulder. It used its mouth to comb the messy feathers. Wei Lin and Mingyu were stunned. This was the first time they had seen a bird looking for trouble. Qi Meiyan smiled and said, "Don't worry about that bird. It's just cultivating." Wei Lin and Mingyu were enlightened. So that's why. The black bird hid its head in its wings and began to digest and absorb the power of the lightning. After a period of continuous tempering, the black bird's feathers were glowing blue. With Lei Xingfeng's eyes, he knew that the black bird's cultivation was advancing by leaps and bounds. The black bird didn't care about anything in its cultivation. Since Buddha followed Lei Xingfeng, it was struck by lightning 3 times a day. Sometimes, if it performed well, it might be struck once more. In the blackbird's memory, 1 day by Lei Xingfeng's side was equivalent to 10 days in the wild. After these days of cultivation, its heart seemed to be stirring. It now knew that according to the birdman, it might be advancing. Lei Xingfeng also knew that the blackbird was extraordinary. That was why it liked to follow him. He didn't have any objections. Instead, he tried his best to help the blackbird improve its cultivation. He wanted to know what this blackbird was, how it could talk, and how it was so smart. Qingshui Island was surrounded by a sea of green. Compared to most of the water in the Blackwater region, it was very special. On the small black island, there were no plants, only black rocks. The surroundings were dark green, and there were silver specks on the surface of the water. With the gentle breeze, layer by layer, this was actually an extremely beautiful place. Under the ripples of the blue waves, countless schools of fish swam. They could be seen clearly in the air, flying over from the boundless black water and suddenly seeing the green water surface. One's heart cleared. That comfortable feeling left a strong impression. Lei Xingfeng couldn't help but praise. "Good place." Yuko said, "For the black fish people, this isn't a good place. They would never enter here. Without the cover of the black water, they would be exposed as soon as they enter. That's very dangerous." Xian Jialuan said, "Oh, there are many people on the island. I see some small wooden houses and tents." Lei Xingfeng looked into the distance. He realized that not only were there wooden houses and tents, there were also people moving around. The most obvious thing was the rising smoke. There should be cultivators having a picnic. The scenery is like a painting. This place is really special. No wonder it became the first choice for outsiders. Hee, if I come here again, I will definitely come back. Lei Xingfeng said emotionally. Yuko laughed. That's true. Even if it's a temporary camp, there will always be people around. The group of them quickly flew to the edge of Qingshui Island. Yuko said, let's go down. Qingshui Island wasn't very big. It was about 1,500 square meters. The rocks in the middle had long been shattered. Therefore, the black rocks on the ground should have been cleaned up by someone. It was relatively flat. Along the edge of Qingshui Island, there were many wooden houses. They were very simple wooden houses. They were built on a platform with a roof. Some of the wooden houses only had 4 pillars. They didn't even have walls. There was only a piece of gray cloth hanging to cover them. There were also all kinds of tents. There were old and new ones. There were also abandoned tents. The center of Qingshui Island was empty. No one built a building in the center of the island. The main reason was that all the cultivators gathered in the center of the island. Temporary teams were formed there. Yuko was very experienced. He found an empty wooden hut and said, let's rest in this wooden hut. This wooden house was quite big, about 100 square meters. It had 6 wooden pillars and a wooden wall behind it. 3 sides of the house were exposed, and curtains had to be hung to cover it. In the center of the wooden house was a fire pit. It was built with long black stones, and a big pot could be placed on it to cook food. Lei Xingfeng said, this place is not bad. Jean Daya and Feng Ying went out for a walk and came back. Jean Daya said, there aren't many people, only 100 or so. Haha, even if we're a large group, someone will probably come looking for us. Mad Eagle said, the difference in strength is huge. I saw many 6th and 7th ring sages. There weren't many 9th ring sages. But there were many women. Lei Xingfeng and the rest already knew that the black spirit fruit was something that women needed. As for what it was used for, Lei Xingfeng didn't know. He was only here to help. Chapter 275. Lei Xingfeng's main goal was the hidden wine. Now that he had it, his next goal would be the black spirit fruit to help Qi Meiyun obtain it. Yuko said, we're not in a hurry. Let's rest here for a while. Someone will come to us for an alliance. It's fine if they're of a low level, but they have to be at least 8th ring true body experts. Otherwise, we'll be at a disadvantage. Qi Meiyun said, of course. If they're too weak, they'll drag us down. Xian Zhaoluan said, all right, I'll check on them. I'll be in charge of the negotiations. Yuko said, all right, it's best to have junior brother in charge. Lei Xingfeng had already begun taking out a large copper pot. Tiger Love carried it to the edge of the island to get water. Lei Xingfeng took out a pile of oil wood and began to light the fire. Grandma Hong said in surprise, oil wood, how extravagant. Lei Xingfeng laughed. I've encountered an oil wood forest before and collected quite a bit. It's very convenient to use oil wood in the wild. Wei Lin asked, Grandma Hong, is oil wood very hard to come by? Grandma Hong said, oil wood, as long as there's a chance, you can still get it. The main reason is that it's very useful in extremely cold areas. It's very resistant to fire. Normal firewood, when burned together, is not as effective as a single piece of oil wood. Wei Lin smiled bitterly. We're still lacking a lot of things. We'll have to pay more attention in the future. Lei Xingfeng asked curiously, Senior Sister Wei, where's your hidden sect? Wei Lin said, it's in the Hui continent. Junior brother Afeng, if you have time, you can come and play there. She already knew that Jean Daya, who had made the deal with her, was Lei Xingfeng's bodyguard. from how Jean Daya had casually exchanged rings with her. She knew that Lei Xingfeng treated his subordinates very well. She should make friends with this kind of person. In this world, connections were also important. However, these connections were the connections of secret sections. The more experts one knew, the more secrets one would find out. Thus, it was impossible to just focus on cultivating. One had to make frequent contacts with others. Xianfeng had also noticed this point, which was why he was trying his best to get in touch with other sections. No matter what, only by finding like-minded people would he be able to strengthen himself and obtain more opportunities. He believed that he had the ability to do so. Without mentioning anything else, he believed that as long as he was a practitioner, he wouldn't be able to resist such a terrifying ability. Boiling water, cooking rice, and stewing vegetables. As for stir-frying vegetables, forget about it. If Jean Depang was here, he would be able to do it. Lei Xingfeng had no interest in stir-frying vegetables. The amount of food on a plate was too small. With cultivators' huge appetites, they could finish it in a few mouthfuls. Compared to stewing, it was cheaper. Large pieces of bull meat were placed in the pot, along with various vegetables. Because he had a wooden barrel made of blackwood, he stored a large amount of fresh vegetables. Fresh vegetables could be stored in a wooden barrel made of blackwood for half a year or more. This kind of thing was surprisingly good at preserving freshness. Lei Xingfeng was already very familiar with stewing. He also had all kinds of seasonings prepared by Jean Depang. After adding them into the copper pot, a fragrant aroma filled the air. Wei Lin and Ming Yu's faces were filled with surprise. The two of them stared at the copper pot. Wei Lin said, "Smells so good. Smells so good. I'm hungry." Ming Yu nodded. "I'm hungry too. Why is it so fragrant?" Cultivators didn't particularly care about food. As long as they were full, they would be fine. Of course, when it came to delicious food, they would also be unable to move. Thus, Lei Xingfeng's wooden house became the focus of attention. Who asked for such a strong aroma to come from there? At this time, the cultivators outside realized that the people in the wooden house were all ninth ring sages. This was a very powerful force. Since Wei Lin and Ming Yu had joined the team, Lei Xingfeng wouldn't be stingy. Thus, he specially made more food. There were a total of 3 copper pots. 1 pot was fragrant rice, and 2 pots were stewing vegetables. The amount was enough for everyone in the room. The copper pot was about the size of a large water tank. Just the bull meat alone was a few hundred pounds. There were also all kinds of dried vegetables and the like. The entire pot was filled with vegetables. After cooking for half an hour, everyone couldn't bear it anymore. Lei Xingfeng also felt that he couldn't take it anymore. His stomach was growling. He said, "Let's eat." He directly took out a large basin and scooped half of the rice. Then, he directly covered the rice with the stewing vegetables. He said with a smile, "This is delicious rice." The group of people followed suit. Soon, a large pot of stewing vegetables was gone. The second pot of stewing vegetables was half gone. Regardless of gender, everyone here had a great appetite. Xianfeng's eating speed was extremely fast. This was a habit he had brought with him from this world, wolfing down food like a tiger. When one was hungry, everything would taste good. Each of them held a big bowl and buried their heads in the food. At this time, someone shouted, "There's a fight outside." Yuko looked up and said, "Someone, go take a look." One of Qi Meiyun's guards said, "I'll go take a look." She put down the basin and walked out of the room. Then she flew into the air and looked into the distance. Faint sounds of explosions could be heard in the distance. Far in the horizon, one could see a large amount of steam rising into the air, forming a white mist. After a while, Qi Meiyun's guards landed. She walked into the room and said, "It's probably a few sages fighting. It's very intense. However, it shouldn't have anything to do with us." After saying that, she picked up the basin and continued eating. Lei Xingfeng didn't mind. His current mission was to fill his stomach. This kind of battle was too common. Sometimes, when there were conflicts between cultivators, they would choose to settle it in the outside world. After finishing their meal, the battle in the distance still hadn't ended. It was still in full swing. The people on Qingshui Island were all looking in the direction of the battle. Lei Xingfeng and the rest were no exception. They all stretched their necks and looked into the distance. Due to the large amount of white mist, it was difficult to see who was fighting. Lei Xingfeng stared. Suddenly, he frowned and said, "Who can look more carefully? Why do I feel like there's a flash of lightning?" Jean Dia said, "I also saw the flash." "Hee, a Feng should have the same attribute as you. This is rare. There are very few lightning elementals. I didn't expect to find another one. Hey, where are you going?" Lei Xingfeng had already flown into the air. He shouted, "Uncle Jean, Uncle Tiger, Uncle Ling, follow me." After saying that, he flew out. His only thought was that the lightning elementalist could be Yi. Ever since he entered the secret sect, he hadn't seen a lightning elementalist. He had only seen a blackbird. Therefore, he had reason to suspect that this person was Yi. Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love also flew up. Xian Jiaoluan was stunned. He said, "What's going on?" He didn't hesitate and flew out as well. Of course, Yuko couldn't stay on the small island. He was Lei Xingfeng's senior brother. If something happened to Lei Xingfeng, he couldn't bear the responsibility. In the sect, almost all the disciples knew that both the master and the founder treated Lei Xingfeng extremely well. He was a disciple who was very doted on. Who would dare to let something happen to him? Yuko flew up as well. He shouted, "Wait for me." Wei Lin said, "Let's go and take a look." Qi Meiyan flew out with 2 bodyguards. Since Lei Xingfeng had already gone out, she couldn't sit still anymore. A large group of people flew over. Instantly, the cultivators on Qingshui Island became curious. A few people flew up sporadically, followed by many others. Everyone had the habit of watching a commotion. Even the cultivators were no exception. This time, the commotion was astonishing. More than 100 cultivators rushed over. This aura was already overwhelming. Lei Xingfeng was at the front. Due to the large amount of white mist rising, the scene of the battle in front of him was indistinct. However, Lei Xingfeng could clearly see thick lightning dancing in the white mist. Waves of loud explosions could be heard. Every explosion caused a large amount of white mist to rise. Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love had already caught up. The 3 of them protected Lei Xingfeng out of habit. Jean Dia said, "A phone, what's wrong?" Lei Xingfeng seemed a little agitated. He had been looking for Elder Thunderstorm for a long time, but there had been no news. He didn't expect to see someone with the lightning attribute fighting here. Of course, he thought that this might be Aya's battle. That was why he flew over in such a hurry. Lei Xingfeng said, "It might be my Yi. I can't see clearly." Regardless of whether it was Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, or Tiger Love, they all knew that Lei Xingfeng had been looking for their Yi. Therefore, the 3 of them immediately realized what was going on. Xian Jiaoluan and Yuko also rushed over. Xian Jiaoluan said, "A phone, what's wrong?" Jean Dyer explained, "It might be a Feng's grandfather. It's just that I can't see clearly. The battle inside is too chaotic." Yuko said, "That's easy. Let's disperse the white fog." The few of them immediately attacked together. However, they didn't attack the person, but the white fog. In an instant, the violent attacks dispersed the white fog, revealing the people who were still fighting inside. Lei Xingfeng immediately saw Elder Thunderstorm. In that instant, he was so excited that he didn't know what to do. The situation of the battlefield, after the white mist dispersed, was immediately revealed clearly. The old man Lei Bao was fighting 1 against 3. Behind him was a middle-aged woman and an old man with only 7 rings, while his opponents were 4 people, all of them experts with 9-ring bodies. Lei Xingfeng shouted, "Kill those 4." He finally came to his senses. He directly used the Chaos Wheel to slash at them. The Chaos Wheel instantly expanded to the size of a wheel. It flickered with countless lightning bolts. The moment he attacked, a streak of lightning flashed and rolled over like a bolt of lightning. Immediately, the people on Lei Xingfeng's side knew who the enemy was. Jean Dia didn't hesitate to attack one of them. Mad Eagle and Tiger Love also attacked. Xian Zhaoluan said, "Eldest senior brother, let's attack together." The 2 brothers attacked together. The 2 of them were incredible. They were both peak 9th ring sages, just 1 step away from becoming a true monarch. Their strength was definitely terrifying among 9th ring sages. Qi Meiyan sneered and said, "Let's attack too." She had never been a virtuous lady. Her desire for battle was extraordinary. The 4 9th ring sages were shocked. They didn't know where so many experts had come from, and why they were attacking without any reason. Chapter 276. If a 9th ring sage wanted to escape, it was usually very difficult to stop them unless a true monarch appeared. However, this time, the 4 9th ring sages were at a great disadvantage. Because there were so many 9th ring sages attacking, the 4 only had time to release their seals before they were sent flying. Although this attack didn't destroy their seals, it still made them vomit blood. Their seals were greatly damaged, and they fled madly. What a joke! More than 10 9th ring sages were attacking. If they hesitated, they would definitely die here. The old man Lei Bao, and the other 2 were all stunned. The 3 of them stopped and looked at the group of people who were fighting with puzzlement. Lei Xingfeng shouted, "Ai!" Thunderstorm looked as if he was struck by lightning. He stared at Lei Xingfeng and said subconsciously, "A phone? A phone." Lei Xingfeng's face bloomed. He was extremely excited. He finally found Thunderstorm. In this life, he only cared about 2 people. One was Ai, and the other was his little sister. They were family in this life. He raised his little sister, and Ai taught her cultivation from a young age. They were very close. The old man Lei Bao flew over. He could not believe his eyes. Xian Feng was also a 9th ringed true sage, the same cultivation as him. With his eyes, he could see that Xian Feng had not been promoted for long, unlike him who had already reached the peak of the 9th ringed true sage. But even so, he could not believe it. It had only been 10 years since they parted. Xian Feng could actually cultivate to such a level. This was something he did not expect. Lei Xingfeng stepped forward and grabbed Thunderstorm's arm. He said, "Ai, Ai." He was so excited that he didn't know what to say. Thunderstorm patted Lei Xingfeng's head out of habit. He said, "A phone. No wonder I couldn't find you. You ran to the outside world." Ha ha. He was indescribably happy and relieved. He had exhausted all his energy to find Lei Xingfeng and his little sister. During this time, he had been entangled with C. Dano. However, the world was so big that it was too difficult to meet them, especially since he was just a wandering ghost with no one to help him. He couldn't find Lei Xingfeng and his little sister. Lei Xingfeng said, "Ai, it's a long story. I've entered the hidden sect. That's why I had the chance to come to the outside world." Thunderstorm knew much more than Lei Xingfeng. He said in surprise, he said, You've entered the hidden sect? Haha, are you a disciple of the sect? Xian Feng laughed. Of course. The old man Lei Bao laughed. Good, good. You're indeed my grandson. The old man hovering next to Thunderstorm, Xingfeng smiled. Old Thunderstorm, I guessed right. Your grandson has entered the hidden sect. Thunderstorm, Xingfeng hurriedly said. Feng, this is Grandpa, and Lei Xingfeng said, Hello, Grandpa, and I'm Lei Xingfeng. And Debeo smiled. Good boy, good boy. Jean Dia and the others rolled their eyes. You, a seventh-ringed true sage, actually dared to call a ninth-ringed true sage a good kid. It sounded weird. It was no wonder that in Debeo, a seventh-ringed true sage couldn't see through Xian Feng's rank. Thunderstorm Xingfeng said, This is your grandma Qinrong. Lei Xingfeng had no choice. Thunderstorm Xingfeng was in front of his friend, so his friend, Lei Xingfeng, was naturally 3 times shorter. He said, Hello, Grandma Qinrong. He thought, Grandma? What grandma? He had a puzzled look on his face. Qinrong reacted quickly. She smiled and said, Don't, just call me senior sister. I don't dare to be your grandma. TSK, TSK, a disciple of the hidden sect. That's quite a high status. She was also a disciple of the hidden sect, but her hidden sect was too small. It didn't even have a hidden space. There were only 3 of them and 10 other sages. Lei Xingfeng immediately knew that this person had nothing to do with his grandma. She was only 3 generations younger than him because she was friends with Ai Yi. In the chaos, he didn't chase after the 4 ninth-ring sages. When they returned to Qingshui Island, everyone sat down in the wooden house. Lei Xingfeng then introduced his senior brothers and sisters to Thunderstorm Xingfeng. From big senior brother Yuko to second senior brother Xian Jiaoluan and third senior sister Qi Meiyun to Lei Xingfeng, Thunderstorm Xingfeng was in a good mood. Of course, he wouldn't act like an elder and call Yuko and the others brothers. Lei Xingfeng was a little depressed. Because Thunderstorm Yuko was called little brother, he didn't know how to address him. At this time, the blackbird appeared and said, Yi calls him little brother, and you call him big senior brother. Gaga, your relationship is so complicated. I can't even tell. Ga. Lei Xingfeng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He said, Bird Bude, you're talking nonsense again. The blackbird felt wronged and said, I'm just speaking the truth. You're bullying me again. Thunderstorm Xingfeng laughed and said, Feng, this bird is very smart. Bird Bude was instantly happy and said, Old master is good with words. Gaga, I'm Bird Bude. Nice to meet you, old master. With this, Lei Xingfeng's anger disappeared. Thunderstorm Xingfeng laughed and said, Good, good. Hee hee, Feng, your bird is not bad. Lei Xingfeng said, It's a slippery bird. Qinrong laughed and said, This is the first time I've seen a bird that can talk. The blackbird said, I'm Bird Bude. Of course it's rare. Qinrong said, Oh, this bird is really something. Amazing. The blackbird laughed proudly. Gaga, ga ga ga. Lei Xingfeng said, Yi, Yaya has also entered the secret sect. I found her. Thunderstorm Xingfeng was immediately overjoyed and said, Ah, oh, that's great. Ha, they've all entered the secret sect. Although he said that he was a lonely soul and was unwilling to enter the secret sect, he would definitely not object to his grandchildren entering the secret sect. He knew how powerful the secret sect was. After knowing that his grandchildren had entered the secret sect, Thunderstorm Xingfeng was completely relieved. He said, You two are both good children. You can finally rest assured. He can also rest assured and pursue his own world. Lei Xingfeng said, He also wants to advance to monarch. Thunderstorm Xingfeng laughed bitterly and said, This is too difficult. However, Yi still wants to try. Even if he dies, he will be satisfied. Lei Xingfeng said, Yi advancing to monarch is no big deal. I've already started preparing the materials. Yes, Yao Yao's secret sect is the most famous secret sect for making medicine. If Yi wants to advance, Yao Yao will get the relevant medicine. Thunderstorm Xingfeng was shocked. He said, that's not right. Yao Yao was brought there by Aslan. She doesn't have any secret sect. Lei Xingfeng said, Aslan, I don't know if I should hate her or thank her. She sold Yao Yao to the secret sect. Thunderstorm Xingfeng was not angry. He said, for the Yin Ring, this woman is really something. Lei Xingfeng said, oh right, Yao Yao's sect is pressuring Stano's sect to stop chasing Yi. However, Yi, why did those 4 people fight with you? Is it Stano's people? Qin Rong said, no, it's my enemies. We just happened to run into them. They saw that we were weak and wanted to take the opportunity to kill us. Fortunately, Brother Lei was strong enough, so he managed to stall until you arrived. Thunderstorm Xingfeng was a 9th ring sage, and a 9th ring sage at that. He was also a cultivator of the thunder element, so he was very strong. The thunder element could challenge those of a higher level. Among all the elements, the thunder element's combat power was definitely at the top. That's why the old man, Lei Bao, could face the attacks of 3 9th ring true masters alone, and he was able to fight well without falling into a disadvantage. However, it was extremely difficult to defeat the 3 of them, especially with the 4th 9th ring true master holding him back. That's why he was entangled for so long. Lei Xingfeng said, Yi, come with me from now on. Thunderstorm Xingfeng smiled. No, I have my own path. I need to learn how to take care of myself. Yao Yao also needs you to continue taking care of her. Lei Xingfeng immediately became sad. He said, Yi, you need to leave a way to contact me and find the materials to level up. I need your help. Thunderstorm Xingfeng smiled. Of course. Yuko smiled. We should have enough people. We might not be able to attack a large tribe, but attacking a medium tribe shouldn't be a problem. With a master like Thunderstorm Xingfeng, he could fight against 3 or 4 9th ring sages. In addition to the original people, they had formed a strong team. Ndebeo smiled. I was worried that we wouldn't be able to find a team. I didn't expect to find one. He knew that with their strength, it would be easy for Thunderstorm Xingfeng to find a team. However, it would be more difficult for him and Qin Rong. No one would be willing to bring along 2 weak people. However, things were different now. With Lei Xingfeng around, Qin Rong and Ndebeo could fish in troubled waters. Originally, Qin Rong had the idea of inviting Thunderstorm into her secret door. However, after Thunderstorm rejected Lei Xingfeng, she understood that it wouldn't work. Old Thunderstorm wasn't even willing to enter his own grandson's secret door, let alone her own secret door. From the looks of Lei Xingfeng and the others, the little guy's secret door must be amazing. At the very least, it must be much stronger than her own secret door. Therefore, she gave up and stopped trying to recruit Thunderstorm. Lei Xingfeng purposely dragged Thunderstorm out for a walk to avoid the crowd. He had some private matters to discuss. The 2 of them walked slowly along the edge of Qingshui Island. Lei Xingfeng said, Yi, come and help me. I've started to gather a group of people in my secret door. I need someone I can trust to help me. Thunderstorm hesitated. Ever since he recovered his cultivation, he didn't want to stay in one place. He wanted to move around. He said, Afeng, do you really want me to come? His tone was a little soft. After all, he valued this grandson of his and couldn't bear to reject him. Lei Xingfeng nodded. It would be best if Yi is willing to come. Thunderstorm Xingfeng said, Let me think about it. Lei Xingfeng nodded. He wouldn't force the old man. He was very close to Thunderstorm and wished him well. He said, "All right, Yi, I have a treasure here. Keep it well." As he said that, he secretly passed a holy crystal to Thunderstorm. Chapter 277. He whispered, Yi, this is a Saint Crystal. It can increase the chance of advancing by 60%. He knew that Elder Thunderstorm didn't use the Yin Ring to advance. If he did, then even Saint Crystals wouldn't be enough. Thunderstorm obviously didn't know the use of the Saint Crystal. He whispered, Saint Crystal? Increase the chance of advancing by 60%. How is that possible? Lei Xingfeng nodded. Other than heaven crystals and Saint Crystals, Yao Yao's sect can also concoct medicine to increase the success rate. However, that medicine is too expensive. We can't afford it. Even if we gather the materials, we can't afford it. The cost of concocting it is too high. Thunderstorm was shocked. He didn't know how Lei Xingfeng obtained the Saint Crystal, but he could imagine that it must have taken a lot of effort. Seeing how Lei Xingfeng handed him the Saint Crystal like a thief, he knew how rare it was. Only family members would give something so precious to them unconditionally. A phone. You've had a hard time recently. Thunderstorm said, and patted Lei Xingfeng's shoulder. A phone. Yi is old. If he can't advance, then he can only use the Yin Ring to extend his life. Lei Xingfeng said anxiously, Yi, don't be in a hurry to use the Yin Ring. It will waste your potential. He knew the disadvantages of using the Yin Ring. Thunderstorm nodded. I know. Unfortunately, I was injured before. Although I recovered, I used a part of my potential. My chances of advancing to Monarch are much smaller. However, with the Saint Crystal you gave me, I have at least 50% chance of advancing. It's worth it, Lei Xingfeng said. In my sect, the first senior brother advanced to Monarch. After seeing it with my own eyes, I realized how difficult it is to advance to Monarch. Thunderstorm's interest was piqued, no matter how knowledgeable he was. He had never seen a ninth ring sage become a true monarch. This was a huge threshold that blocked countless ninth ring sages. The most terrifying thing was that the best way to become a true monarch was hidden in the secret door. It was extremely difficult for cultivators who did not join the secret door to become a true monarch. Feng, tell me, what was the process like? Lei Xingfeng described the process of Feng Qinzong's advancement in detail. Thunderstorm couldn't help but mutter, Great stamp platform. Great stamp platform. It's actually so complicated. I thought too simply. Lei Xingfeng said, Not only do we need a large stamp platform, we also need a large number of Yin rings, at least 20,000 Yin rings. Thunderstorm was also shocked. He took a deep breath and said, Hiss, 20,000? 20,000 Yin rings. Isn't that too much? Lei Xingfeng said, That's not all. We also need a large amount of materials. If we don't have all the materials, we won't be able to advance. In our sect, the first senior brother and second senior brother are both at the peak of ninth ring. Based on their own conditions, they can already advance. It's just that they haven't collected enough materials and Yin rings. Even hidden sects couldn't provide the materials and Yin rings for free. Disciples had to collect them themselves. Of course, there were also rich hidden sects, like the one Xian Yao was in. She probably didn't need to collect the materials herself. Once she reached the pinnacle of ninth ring, her teachers would provide her with everything she needed. However, these kinds of hidden sects were too rare. If one wanted to enter one, they had to be extremely talented. Lei Xingfeng's secret door was already quite good, but even so, disciples had to find it themselves. As for practitioners like Thunderstorm, It was even harder for them to advance than disciples of secret doors. They didn't have the ability to borrow power. They had to rely on their own efforts. Thunderstorm laughed bitterly. I've already missed my chance to enter a secret door. No one would accept an old man. Even if a secret door accepted me, I wouldn't be a direct disciple. I'd only be a bodyguard. It's meaningless. I haven't reached the point where I'm just waiting for death to come. Lei Xingfeng said confidently, Yi, don't you still have me? Don't worry, Yao Yao, and I can gather everything you need to advance. You don't know, but Yao Yao is rich now. Her sect is too strong. Even though they're all women, they're stronger than our secret door. Thunderstorm said, how can a secret door that can make high-level medicine be bad? A high-level medicine is worth the entire fortune of a small secret door. Xian Feng spoke emotionally. That's right, I didn't know before that medicine was so expensive. Thunderstorm said, with Yao Yao here, we won't have to worry about medicine in the future. Hee hee. Lei Xingfeng took out 2 medicines and said, Yi, this is the soul stabilizing medicine. It's the best for healing injuries. Thunderstorm was overjoyed. Good stuff, ha. He wouldn't be polite with Lei Xingfeng. He put away the 2 medicines and said, this medicine can save lives. It's a pity I couldn't find it back then. If I did, I wouldn't have hidden in Tiger Cliff Castle for so many years. Back then, Thunderstorm had completely lost his confidence and focused on raising Lei Xingfeng and Lei Xingyao. He didn't even plan on leaving Tiger Cliff Castle alive. He didn't expect that through natural lightning, he would recover completely and even improve greatly, reaching a level he couldn't reach before. In order to fight against Stano, Thunderstorm really went all out. However, after seeing Lei Xingfeng's current achievements, his original anger had dissipated. He started to consider his own cultivation. If he could improve, then he felt that he could live for a long time. When it came to a matter of life and death, Lei Xingfeng obviously took it seriously. He didn't want to lose Yi. He said, when I gather enough materials and rings, I'll ask the founder for help to open the Great Seal platform and let Yi level up. Thunderstorm shook his head. As long as I find enough materials and rings, I'll think of a way myself. I don't want to trouble your sect. It'll be detrimental to your future advancement. Lei Xingfeng said, Yi, don't worry. The founder and master are very good to me. They'll agree. Thunderstorm said, don't worry about this. We'll talk about it later. Gathering materials and rings isn't easy. Lei Xingfeng said, it's okay. I have Master, Martial Uncle, and the founder. They'll all help me open the hidden door and go to the outer world to find materials. Thunderstorm stopped and said, yes, Afong, you've grown up. You have teachers and friends. You're no longer the child who had to worry about food. Ha ha. He felt a little sour in his heart and said, I believe you'll go even further than Yi. When the 2 of them returned to the wooden house, the group had expanded once again. This time, there was a small group of about 7 people. 5 of them were 9th ring experts, and the leader was a woman with 6th ring true body. Her name was Huyame, and she was a direct disciple of the hidden sect. The others were cultivators who had come to help. This group suddenly had more than 20 people. Attacking a medium-sized tribe wasn't a problem at all. Most of the people who came to the Blackwater region to search for black spirit fruit were led by women. They were the main force in the Blackwater region. The more people there were, the more information there was. The last 7 people to join had already set their sights on a medium-sized tribe, but they weren't strong enough. Huyame's guard captain said, we've already chosen our target, but we're not strong enough. Now that we have so many people, we can rob this tribe of black spirit fruit. Yuko said happily, "How many black spirit fish people are there in a medium-sized tribe?" Huyame's guard captain said, "At most 50,000. According to our estimates, there should be less than 50,000 black spirit fish people. Their territory isn't small. There should be more than 3,000 mu of black spirit fruit on the water surface. More than 1,000 mu are about to ripen." Huyame was a very shy person. She didn't talk much and sat quietly among her subordinates. Her guard captain, a ninth-ringed old lady, was the one who dealt with the outside world. Everyone called this old lady sister, Hu. But to Lei Xingfeng and the others, this old lady was more like Grandma, Hu. Her face was full of wrinkles, her hair was completely white, and she held a cane in her hand. But no one looked down on Sister, Hu, because she was at the peak of ninth-ringed. Even if she was born from Yin-ring, she was still very strong. This kind of strength wasn't any weaker than the direct disciples of the hidden door. Even if their potential was exhausted, their battle strength was still very strong. Especially after they reached ninth-ringed, their path of advancement was basically cut off. Instead, they had the time and energy to explore and fight. Their battle strength was often even stronger. Qi Meiyun said, "More than 1,000 mu. This is enough for us to rob. Even if they start destroying the black spirit fruit, they won't be able to destroy all of it. As long as we are fast, we can collect enough black spirit fruit." This was the season when the black spirit fishmen harvested the black spirit fruit. As the black spirit fruit matured, it was also the time when most outsiders came. After this season, very few outsiders would enter. Without the temptation of the black spirit fruit, no one would come here. In fact, the resources in this outer world were quite poor. As long as people came here, they were looking for the black spirit fruit. Very few of them were looking for the fishman wine, but the fishman wine was even rarer. Sister Hu continued, "During this time, the black spirit fish people are the most irritable and nervous. If there is even the slightest movement, they will make a big fuss. Once they realize that they are no match for us, they will mobilize the entire tribe and start destroying the ripe black spirit fruit paddy fields. If we want to harvest enough black spirit fruit, we must have a battle and harvest plan. Everyone will be assigned tasks. In the end, those who harvest the black spirit fruit must distribute the black spirit fruit according to the size of the task." Lei Xingfeng agreed with this point. If they were assigned to battle, they might not be able to harvest a single black spirit fruit. On the other hand, those who specialized in harvesting could harvest thousands of black spirit fruits. This was a huge difference. Yuko said straightforwardly, "I have no objections." Xian Zhaoluan, Qi Meiyun, and Lei Xingfeng all nodded in agreement. Everyone's eyes fell on Wei Lin and Mingyu. As for Qin Rong, everyone naturally ignored her. Chapter 278. Wei Lin and Mingyu nodded in agreement. No one objected to the division of labor. Then, they agreed on how to split the loot. The guards were paid the same as their masters. The guards they brought were all ninth-ring sages. Of course, what they received was usually given to their masters. Therefore, it was advantageous to bring guards. This was also why the hidden sect put so much effort into training the guards of their disciples. These guards relied on the Yin rings provided by the hidden sect to advance step by step until they reached the ninth ring sage body. Then, they had to provide assistance to the hidden sect. As long as their talent wasn't too bad, reaching the sixth or ninth ring sage body was a matter of course. This was basically the hidden sect's strategy. There were many things that were not suitable for the direct disciples to do. They had to rely on the cultivators trained by the hidden sect to deal with them. There was almost no doubt that the cultivators who entered the hidden sect would raise their cultivation level. This was a condition that both sides agreed to. Lei Xingfeng and Thunderstorm's mission was simple. They were to fight and expel the black mermen, form a defensive circle, and cover the others to harvest the black spirit fruit. Sister, who was in charge of leading the way. The medium-sized tribe was quite far from Qingshui Island. It would take 4 days to get there. Black Water Region. Stone Bay was located at the edge of the center of the Black Water Region. There were countless giant rocks erected in the Black Water Region, forming a complicated terrain. Unlike the endless Black Water Region, the water here was divided by giant rocks. It was very special. Sister, who held her walking stick in the air, and said, the Stone Bay Black Merman tribe was originally a large tribe. More than 10 years ago, they were besieged by hundreds of cultivators and suffered heavy casualties. The entire tribe lost half of their combat power. Later, when they were fighting for the black spirit fruit, they deliberately destroyed most of the black spirit fruit so that the cultivators didn't get anything. Therefore, the cultivators directly took revenge. The entire tribe declined because of this. At that time, 70% of the black mermen were killed. A large tribe with more than 100,000 black mermen was left with less than 10,000 people. Mrs. Hu continued, generally, when a tribe is attacked, although they will destroy the black spirit fruit, they will not destroy all of it. This is because the consequences are not something they can bear. As long as a practitioner gets the black spirit fruit, they will not take the initiative to attack. If they can't get anything, then there will be a cruel extermination. Lei Xingfeng laughed and said, why don't we just open up the black spirit fruit or sell it? Isn't that better? Mrs. Hu shook her head and said, they don't have that kind of intelligence. Well, to be more precise, they haven't blossomed to that stage yet. If they had intelligence, cultivators wouldn't bother to kill them. A trade would be the best choice. In fact, when we went to the outer world, there were many natives there. Generally speaking, as long as they were willing to trade with cultivators and coexist peacefully, there would basically be no danger. Lei Xingfeng sighed and shook his head. A man's wealth is his own ruin. Poor black fishmen. No one understood the first part of his words, but they understood the second part. Mrs. Hu sneered and said, there's nothing to pity. They are even more stupid than wild beasts. When wild beasts meet an invincible opponent, they will run away. These black fishmen are stubborn. They will come in groups and fight with their lives. They won't even negotiate with you. The end result is a life and death battle. Yuko also understood the situation. He said, there's no way to communicate with the black fishmen. Once, there were practitioners who tried to do so, but they all returned with disappointment. Mrs. Hu nodded and said, many people have tried, but it was useless. Therefore, people who come to the Blackwater region now have the idea of robbing. In addition, killing the black fishmen has to be restrained. If the black fishmen are not a threat, then don't kill them. If all the black fishmen are killed, then there will be no one to plant the black spirit fruit. Everyone nodded. They could understand this relationship. The black spirit fruit couldn't be grown from the wild. It had to be grown by the black fishmen. Once the black fishmen were eliminated, the black spirit fruit would disappear. This was something practitioners wouldn't mess around with. In the past, the black fishmen were almost wiped out. Later, the practitioners realized that killing all the black fishmen wouldn't bring them any benefits. Later on, when they robbed the black fishmen, they would only kill the black fishmen who obstructed them. There wouldn't be any large-scale revenge killings. Lei Xingfeng smiled bitterly and said, the black fishmen are still a bit lucky. They lost because of the black spirit fruit, and they also won because of it. Because of the black spirit fruit, they were robbed and killed. It was also because of the black spirit fruit that they were able to survive under the hands of the practitioners. It's contradictory enough. The blackbird said, "You birdmen are all bullshit." Everyone couldn't help but be speechless. This blackbird was really unscrupulous. However, no one refuted the blackbird. In fact, humans were the most contradictory. This was something that everyone admitted, especially the practitioners. They had powerful strength and could do whatever they wanted in the outside world. Lei Xingfeng stared at the stone bay. The stone bay was very mysterious. Countless huge green rocks stood in the black water. The rocks were of different sizes, and they were as dense as a forest. Some places were sparse, while others were dense. The tall rocks were even 100 meters tall. The short rocks were still in the water and were only slightly taller than the black water. Therefore, in the stone bay, if one didn't know how to fly, they wouldn't be able to leave at all. The inside was like a maze. Of course, for sixth ring sages and above, this terrain wasn't a problem at all. In fact, it even had various benefits. The biggest shortcoming of the black fishmen was that they couldn't fly. They could only move around in the water and on land. However, the practitioners were in the air. Occupying the sky meant that they had the initiative. This was the change from a flat surface to a three-dimensional surface. This was also one of the reasons why practitioners were so powerful. Yuko said, "Let's try not to alarm the black fishmen. Yes, we need to find out where the paddy field where the black spirit fruit is planted is." Sister Who said, "I know this. I came to investigate before." Yuko was overjoyed. "That's great. This will save us a lot of trouble. Hee, where is their paddy field?" Sister Who said, "In the middle of the stone bay, there's a body of water. Yes, it's about 10,000 mu. More than half of it is planted with the black spirit fruit." Xian Zhaoluan interrupted, "Where are the ripe black spirit fruits? Have you figured it out?" Sister Whose voice was filled with pride. She said, "Of course. The 1,000 mu that is about to ripen, it's towards the south. Yes, it's close to where we are now." Yuko pondered for a moment and said, "Are we going to sneak in or charge in directly?" Sister Who said, "Of course we're going to charge in directly. It's very difficult to sneak in. There are countless black fishmen sentries here. They will discover anyone who enters at any time. When we investigated, we charged in directly. We just didn't snatch the black spirit fruit. As long as we don't snatch the black spirit fruit, the black fishmen won't care about us." Chi Meiyun said, "That's because you don't have many people. If you have more people, it's different." Sister Who said, "Of course. This is also why we can only investigate and not rob. It's very difficult to rob." Yuko said, 2 or 3 people can still rob." Hee, but not many. We'll run after grabbing a handful. It's already not bad if we can get a dozen black spirit fruits in one go. Actually, with the strength of a 9th ring sage, even a few of them could kill many black fishmen. However, they all understood that they couldn't go all out. Moreover, the black fishmen were protected by the black water. As long as they didn't come out of the water, the lethality of a 9th ring sage would be greatly reduced. This was different from a monarch. If a monarch had the ability to force the black water away and directly expose the black fishmen, then it would be a real massacre. The black spirit fruit grew in the water, just a little above the black water layer. It was also in clear water. If one wanted to pick it, one had to go into the water. One also had to make sure that one didn't enter the black water. Once one touched the black water and was unprepared, then it would be extremely dangerous. The black water's characteristics were a bit like quicksand. Once one came into contact with it, it would attract and drag one into the black water. This wasn't a big problem. With the strength of a 9th ring sage, there was still a chance to escape the suction of the black water. However, with the black fishmen in the black water, it was completely different. The black water would remove the sage's protective shield, and the black fishmen could use this opportunity to bite the part of the person that fell into the black water. In an instant, they could bite off the soles of the feet and thighs. Many cultivators suffered such a great loss. Some even died in the black water. Experienced enlightened masters would leave as soon as they came into contact with the blackfish. They wouldn't get tangled up with them. They would do their best to fight on the surface of the water instead of underwater. Even a ninth ring enlightened master would be at a disadvantage in the water. This was also the reason why cultivators had to form teams. One had to restrain, block, and pick the black spirit fruit. The mission had already been assigned. Yuko checked again and said, "Since we're going to force our way in, then let's do it." A small team of 20 or so people was already very scary in the black water region, especially to the black fishmen. 20 or so sages could already attack a large black fishmen tribe, but they were attacking a medium-sized black fishmen tribe. When the 20 or so people flew above the stone bay, the black water below began to churn violently, and a low humming sound could be heard. Lei Xingfeng flew forward and asked, "What's that sound?" "It sounds like crying." Yuko said, "That's the black fishman's warning sound." Lei Xingfeng said, "That sounds terrible." Thunderstorm caught up from behind. He said, "A foam, don't be careful. We naturally suppress the black fishmen. Don't be nervous." When the black fishmen come into contact with the electric current, although they won't die, they will immediately fall unconscious and sink. I've tested it before. It's very effective. It's meaningless. With the old man's reminder, Lei Xingfeng laughed and said, "Okay, I know. Electric fish." Deep in his heart, he didn't see the black fishmen as humans. These cultivators also didn't see them as humans. In their minds, the black fishmen were a type of fish. A fish that looked very much like a human. You're tuning in to the Mystic Fist YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.